Warrior Lore. Chapter 584, Emergence. Chapter 584, Emergence. The silent cave was a mess. Shuafan was still sitting on the hard stone floor, his face no longer contorted with pain. After a bitter fight to the death against the ninth heaven dragon power, it ended in Shuafan's favor, taming all its savagery in this prolonged battle. Shuafan's soul was compressing now, bit by bit, with the dragon power roaming at its center in the form of a dragon. On the cusp of fusion, the fusion progressed as a hazy fog covered his soul and the compression continued hum. Then, the hazy fog broke with the dazzling light coming from within and unleashing a strong force, making Shuafan's soul bathe in the light after his soul got covered by the 5 colored lights. Shuafan's mind was still as grave as earlier. Shuafan himself was sitting there like a statue roar. But then draconic roars came from within his mind, from within the colored light, followed by 4 claws and a 1,000-meter-long dragon. The prismatic light stuck to its body, forming its scales. Its mighty visage instilled power and dignity. Shuafan opened his now draconic eyes and unleashed a howl at the sky. The mighty dragon power pulverized anything it touched, shaking even Impermanence 5's barrier, and with it, the elders themselves. Elder, she spoke for everyone when he relayed his shock. The power of the heaven dragon soul is so amazing even as it has just formed. The only reason Vicissitude's barrier still stands is because Sir lends the earth dragon soul. The kid is a true gem. Ha ha ha, true. It's my first time seeing the heaven dragon soul as well, and I must say, it truly is one mighty force. Elder Yuan nodded. Shuafan calmed down after that. Feeling out the changes in him, his eyes wandered about the wrecked cave as the dazzling dragon soul turned them into draconic eyes. It only went to show that the fusion was a smashing success and Shuafan had remained himself. The dragon soul fused with his soul and took its form, so even if his body would be crushed, plastered, or pulverized, his soul would just fly away to steal another body. The soul ability of ethereal stage. Speaking of soul power, he had left radiant stage way behind him. It was like giving his soul an armor. But a radiant stage against an ethereal stage was like a 3-year-old against a 7-foot tower of muscle, though in Shuafan's case, it'd be like a tower of muscle inside a 3-year-old, destined to give one some nasty surprises. Death included, ha ha ha, first layer of radiant stage and first layer of ethereal soul. I'm an abomination in the truest sense. Shuafan chuckled. Not even he fathomed that this advancement would bring about such bizarre changes. Then again, since he wasn't exactly an orthodox cultivator, it was a given hum. The space rippled and a red glow came out from his dantian. The bloody glow shone everywhere and rotted anything it touched, faltering. Shuafan entered meditation at once, only to find his blood infant was in the radiant stage. 2 blood infant was a spirit of this world, and in the radiant stage it had a dreadful soul power, exponentially better than your average expert. It could even turn into a blood blade, rending an ethereal stage expert soul into nothing. Blood infant became more and more horrifying as it grew in cultivation. It was this sole reason that made Saint Patriarch Blood Demon such an awesome figure in the sacred domain. This surprise filled him with confidence in fighting an ethereal stage expert with dragon soul by his side and the blood infant sneaking in a few hits. Who could touch him? Elder Yuan made a sign, and the earth dragon soul returned to him. He held his beard while chuckling. Now that the heaven dragon soul has taken form, all is settled. Release the barrier. Yes, sir. The 5 bowed, but the flash of red beat them to it, slamming into the barrier and staggering them. Ugh. Shaking, Elder She groaned and earned Elder Yuan's odd gaze. What's wrong? The punk made a soul attack and took us by surprise. Elder She's face was twisted in horror. Elder Yuan shook his head. Ha ha ha, it's fine. He was just testing out Heaven Dragon Soul's power. That's not it. Elder She continued. The first wave was indeed the Heaven Dragon Soul's might, but the second one was filled with malice and darkness. It's like 2 opposite souls. Say what? Elder Yuan frowned, deep in thought. Does that mean the kid is hiding more secrets? Boom. A huge noise came from the cave and shook the Impermanence 5 into stepping back 5 times. Each of these elders showed their surprise in an odd way. Elder Yuan asked, "What is it this time?" Elder She needed a long time to gather his wits. The kid broke our barrier. Elder Yuan was flabbergasted. How? These 5 were 4th-layer ethereal stage experts that combined could handle a 6th-layer expert. How did it come to having their barrier popped like a balloon? Heaven Dragon Soul was strong and all, but not that outrageous. Just what kind of secrets are you still hiding, kid? Elder Yuan sighed, unaware that Zhuo Fan was stumped as he was by the effect. The place where he was had long since stopped being a cave 100 meters around him. There was not a single thing. Everything had turned to dust the instant it got in range. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage. Absolute Domain. Space Crusher. Zhuo Fan's right eye had 4 golden halos flashing. He not only got a Heaven Dragon Soul, his Blood Infant was upgraded. Now having an unheard of soul power, and even his Divine Eye of the Void got an upgrade. It was a universal move, perfect for when one was in danger. Annihilating everything within 100 meters with intense vibrations, he'd kill without leaving anything behind. No matter what armies were sent for him, nothing could touch him. Heavenly Emperor's power lived up to the legend. Zhuo Fan grinned, and his confidence soared in having one more ace to deal with experts. With his safety guaranteed, he'd have no fear left. It even tore through the barrier just now in this 100-meter area. He was the king, god even. All Emperor-level arts are mystical and godlike. Ha. Cackling inside, Zhuo Fan strutted out. When he had arrived, it was a perfectly neat cave, and now it was an odd hole as everything within was turned to dust. Chapter 585, Fury. Chapter 585, Fury. Steward Zhuo, you're finally out. Ha. Congratulations on your smooth advancement. Elder Yuan popped out of nowhere and cupped his hands. Zhuo Fan merely nodded. All thanks to you for giving me such a great place. It would have been a pain anywhere else. Elder Yuan smiled. Steward Zhuo, don't you want to know what happened these days? Like the barrier? With your wisdom, you should already have some guesses. Yeah, I have. What about it? Don't you care? No, should I? Zhuo Fan spoke. Elder Yuan was dumbstruck, then shook his head. Here I thought the first thing you'd do was to have me over a barrel over this. I even had an excuse ready. Sigh, now all that work has gone to waste. Ha, I thought as much. What's the point of asking if I don't get the truth? Zhuo Fan laughed. Elder Yuan, to be honest, my greatest gain in the demon scheming sect was meeting you. Expounding with Sir on the nature of the world has opened my eyes more than my entire life, especially about human nature's 4 realms. Which 4? Elder Yuan was interested. Zhuo Fan smiled. The first, ignorance. It is walking about aimlessly. Second, aware of oneself but not of one's place, defined by misplaced overconfidence and conceit. Third, knowing oneself and their place, allowing one to pierce anything but their hearts are filled with pain. Fourth, knowing the wise, opening one's eyes and clearing the fog within. Elder Yuan nodded. Zhuo Fan continued. Elder Yuan, I've been stuck at the 3rd realm with a sharp eyesight yet a heavy heart. I bore the whole world on my shoulders, fearing any misstep and holding myself back. But now that I'm in the 4th realm, who you are and where I am has lost its meaning. All that matters is your kind intentions. I don't even feel like knowing who those experts were that set the barrier, or I'd be required to pay them an immense favor. Not knowing means not paying back. Ha. Quite an idealist you are. Elder Yuan shook his head. Zhuo Fan, your mind is sharp and devious. You might look at things with a casual glance, but all of these are just tricks, of no use to the world as a whole. While peering into human condition, walking the path to the truth, that is the greatest wisdom of all. Steward Zhuo, you have finally ventured down this path, getting closer to the Tao. Your future is limitless. That's if Sir will keep on helping me. Of course, you are the hope of demon scheming sect. I will always have your back. Elder Yuan's eyes shone. The old and the young fellows grew closer in these rare moments, even as each of them had tons of secrets. At least they were frank with each other. An hour passed, and the two returned to the elite labor office at the cemetery, but the scene left Zhuo Fan dazed. Why are there just a handful of testers at the doors? It's been just a few days, and the trend has already changed? He'd be hard-pressed to topple the inner sect now. Zhuo Fan turned to see Elder Yuan mimic his surprise while Zhuo Fan was in seclusion. The old guy had looked after him, and no one knew of the elite's trip down to the labor office. Kuei gang, and Yuera rushed over in joy. Master, you're back? What the hell happened? It's only been a few days, so why is this place deserted? Zhuofan frowned the two side and explained how the elites wiped the floor with them. Kuei Gang gnashed his teeth. I and Yuer weren't here either, or he'd never touch my father. I will. You will what? You'll only throw your life away. Don't think for a second that a set of 9th-grade demonic treasures can fight an 8th-layer radiant stage expert. Who is stronger or weaker comes down to one's own power in the end. Zhuofan sighed, teaching his disciple to shed his overconfidence. Despite his own eyes flashing with killing intent, Yuer lamented, Master, the laborer's dignity has taken a heavy blow, with some outer and inner disciples even slumping into remorse for coming here. Naturally, after being trampled like that, they'd never get the nerve to meet them until they can settle the grudge. Zhuofan squinted and pondered. Listen up and listen well. Invite the 3 elite area's venerables for an apology banquet. Yuer asked curiously, apology for what? Didn't our disciple challenge them with a heavy hand? Of course we have to make amends. To show my sincerity, I will even present them the demonic treasures they asked for everyone to see. Both sides will be at peace. Oh, and the labor office's venerables and elders must come as well, or the elite spots for the labor office will be fewer. They came here to pick a fight, and now we're inviting them for a drink? Kuei Gang was fuming. We are no longer the labor office they once knew. All inner disciples look at us with admiration. Why should we play the victim? Zhuofan snorted and pointed at the ignorant kid, while telling Elder Yuan, see that? The second realm of human nature, knows himself but nothing else, arrogant beyond reason. Elder Yuan nodded with a chuckle. Kuei Gang was baffled. What are you standing around for? Get on with it. Am I the manager here, or you? Zhuofan eyed him coldly, grumbling inside. He obeyed his master's order, cupping his hands and huffing away with an equally unwilling Yuer. Elder Yuan chuckled. Steward Zhua, while I did say you just stepped on the road to Dao, you're still up to your old tricks. The banquet is destined to run red. Humph. All that wisdom only works for myself, while petty tricks are left for these swines. I kept my head down so far so that no ethereal stage expert came knocking. But now, I don't give a rat's ass. Anyone that pushes me will find himself 6 feet under. Zhuofan's eyes flashed and he boiled with a bloodthirst so thick the few disciples around the doors shivered and were knocked out cold. Elder Yuan nodded. This was where Guei Hu and Zhuofan differed. The former's power was scattered, his mighty savage energy not used to its full potential and left many openings, while the latter never gave off a whiff of bloodlust. Like an average Joe, a pushover. But push him hard enough and all that fire inside would explode like an unstoppable flood. I finally see you angry. That means you still care about something. Ha ha, go wild, knock yourself out. I'm behind you all the way. Elder Yuan smiled. Meanwhile, 3 fiends of hell and the sect leader were discussing how to handle the 2 problem disciples. With 2nd Elder and 7th Elder behind them and Venerable Sure on their side, they had no good excuse to use, but without putting these bastards in their place, how could the elite selection from the labor office could go on? While they were racking their brains, Kuei Gang stepped in with Zhuofan's invitation. The 4 were dumbstruck for a second there. What apology? What is he up to? We've been on his side all this time, and yet he is wimping out, going for some apology banquet? Fiend Young asked. Fiending ventured. Is he trying to appease both sides? It still doesn't mean you have to be so meek. He'll turn into a joke for the inner sect. Slapping the table, Fiend Young said, I thought he was a genius, only to find him garbage. What good is strength when you can't use it? Xiaoyue squinted and smiled. I know his style. He must be up to something. He'll hold an apology banquet for your sake. Just let him have it and play along. And he wants to do is give demonic treasures. Oh, and don't forget about my share. Take along the 2nd Elder and 7th Elder as well. Since it's an apology banquet, we can't have the party's grandpas missing now, do we? Ha ha ha. The 3 fiends were stumped at his laughter, with Fiend Young saying, What's with you? Do you really want to ease the tension? How are we supposed to handle those brats after this? Handle what when amends are made? Ha ha, now leave this matter be. I'm just curious how the kid is going to end it. Hope I won't have to step in. Xiaoyue's eyes flashed. Chapter 586, Apology Banquet. Chapter 586, Apology Banquet. A secluded valley was shocked awake from its peaceful mood as an endless line of people went in carrying large trays filled with exotic dishes made of exquisite beasts like a work of art. Well, sure, cultivators were above the secular world, overcoming the human condition and its limitations, but they still had manners. Like joining friends and kin alike for a joyous or saddening occasion, they'd find joy within the joy and fight sadness with closeness. Yet the people coming and going with trays wore depressed looks and plain clothes, thinking the feast would blow up. Guai Hu, Kue Lang, Tai Ying, and Yu Ling sat glum at the first table, with such a scary look even the waiters avoided them, lest their oppressive aura stiffened them or scared them to the core crack. Kue Lang punched the table. For God's sakes, has Steward Zhua lost it? They're the ones in the wrong, yet we're making amends? This is outrageous. No matter how much compromise I've made in my life, I'd never stoop so low. Yuling Huff Tying shook his head. Why are you here then? Get off your ass and scram. And how exactly can we do that when it's Steward Zhua's feast? We have to show our respect for all he's done for us. Kue Lang grumbled under his breath, then swore. I'm damn curious though. Why are you here? You're both big shot outer and inner disciples. I can't believe you're taking it so well with your styles. Those two have those elders behind them, and we can't even touch them, and now we're even saying sorry. Are you that eager to shame yourself? Tying squinted and restrained his anger. I'm here for Steward Zhua as well. Chi Feng's last strike left my core on the verge of being crushed, and I would have become a waste. It's with Steward Zhua's help that I made a recovery and even entered the Radiant stage. This is the least I can do. The heaven-reaching pill? Kue Lang gasped. Such a mystical pill. It saved my son and Yuling's sister like nothing. Steward Zhua is divine to save the forsaken. I don't think there's any elder or venerable in the sect capable of what he has done. Yet today, Kue Lang shook his head in sadness, following with, Senior Brother Guai Hu, why are you here then? Zhuafan said I can follow him anywhere, so listening to him is basic. Guai Hu spoke unconcerned. The others smiled. They'd gotten to know each other after so many days hanging around, each having their own reasons for sticking with Zhuafan. Kue Lang and Yu Ling did it to return the favor, and in no small part because they felt he had the better offer for a brighter future. Tai Ying was here to get his revenge from 3 years ago by helping Zhuafan crush the inner sect. Getting the meat out of the oldie's mouth was the best way to do it, and sure enough, the inner sect was forced into action, sending their grandchildren to make a mess of things. From this rotten and dishonorable move, it was clear that their meat wasn't the only thing stolen, but their whole plate too. Tying might be outraged by this feast, but was quite happy overall. The magnate Zhuafan had achieved the impossible, making the inner sect, that had withstood for thousands of years, wobble, while the simplest of the four, Guai Hu, was part of the winning crowd through his master, Grand Elder, but chose to stick with Zhuafan for one simple reason. To sharpen himself, his master warned him that only by following a resolute person could he improve his own heart. Which, funnily enough, the sect lacked very much. Dad, keep it together. Those guys are coming in. Besides the elders and venerables, there are also outer and inner disciples. You all need to get a hold of yourself and not fall for their taunts. Kue Gang and Yuer came over with a sullen look and a warning. Kue Lang squinted and snapped, This is too damn much. Those old coots must have called them to make us look bad. That's the least of our problems. They're surely up to something vile, to shame us and force our hand. They're looking for any excuse to get rid of us, like how they sent those 2 elites for us. Yu Ling warned with a glint in her eyes, Ganger is right. We must keep calm. Kue Lang snorted in anger and sat back down while the other 2 nodded. Venerable Bai watched the 4 of them with a sigh as he said to Venerable Chi, What's the point of all this? Zhuafan pulled the carpet from under the inner sect with a well-placed trick, attracting the disciples with heaps of resources. But now, the other side has used disciples to crush the labor office's dignity, and holding a feast now will only make it worse for them. Sect leader said Zhuafan is a mastermind, so why would he make this dumb move? I'd have clobbered him by now if not for sect leader's order. Seeing the obvious smugness on the oldies filling in at their expense and the glum labor office's oldies, Venerable Chi couldn't tell if he had made the right choice or not. The crew goes down with the ship. The punk no longer wants to mess with the inner sect, and now he even wants to apologize. Everyone's heart burned with rage, but they had no place to vent Venerable Chi side. They're all forced to come by sect leaders' orders. No one here is interested in shaming themselves for that brat. Venerable by side. Meanwhile, in Venerable Sher's cozy home, Second Elder and Seventh Elder wore fancy new threads matching their cocky grin. Venerable Sher, shall we go together? Second Elder laughed. Venerable Sher smiled. You two are the stars of today's show. I could never take your spotlight. Venerable Sher is too kind. With you being the leader of inner sect, how can it not include you? Haha, it's fine. How can I attend it if sect leader isn't there either? Won't I be called out as picking on the weak? Venerable Sher grinned. Seventh Elder pondered and laughed. Getting Venerable Sher to help us in this show will be giving them too much honor. Come, the two of us are more than enough. Venerable Sher nodded, agreeing with Seventh Elder's idea. They're not good enough to make me appear. Second Elder exclaimed, Right, we can't let them get smug by any means. But to think they'd come up with an apology banquet. I still thought we were in a deadlock with the labor office. Seventh Elder said. Venerable Sher chuckled. It's out of my predictions as well, but it makes sense. Zhuofan is a wise and sharp kid, and is only doing this for Xie Wuyue's sake. With Xie Wuyue unable to help, all problems land on him. With the labor office being Xie Wuyue's grand plan, if it goes belly up, he'll take the fall. Being under so much pressure forced him to reassess the situation and show his goodwill to us, even apologize. We shouldn't mock him for reaching out. But even if we do, he'd be smiling harder, making us smack him harder still. Ha ha ha, Second Elder mocked. The other two joined. Venerable Sher nodded. Exactly. Does he really think we're just going to give up after a little chat? Humph. We're going to come on him so hard there'll be nothing left of him, or the elite labor office. And he brought this upon himself too. Venerable Sher, we will definitely make the punk have no dignity to speak of after this. He might even commit suicide. Ha ha ha. The two snickered on their way to the banquet. Venerable Sher's crafty grin only grew and grew. Chapter 587, Elite Strife. Chapter 587, Elite Strife. In a quaint pavilion, a girl was pacing around bored and kicked the water when the boredom got the best of her. It was none other than one of the culprits that had wrecked the labor office. Pang Yujuan Fiend Yang chewed her out the instant he got back, though he couldn't do much else. Not with a good excuse in place and the elders on their backs a mere slap on the wrist. The fiends didn't want to blow out and refrained from being harsher, only putting them on house arrest. In Yujuan's case, she was so bored that she had nothing better to do than to kick water. Junior sister Yujuan is so refined and elegant as she plays in the water. Yujuan paused mid-kick and mocked. What else is there to do? While I am stuck at home for so long, it's either this or go stir crazy. With a snicker, Chi Feng walked over and whispered in her ear. She perked up in an instant. You really brought your grandpa's halberd? He, Grandpa gave it to me. He figured the three old coots will do something like this and gave me the 7th grade demonic treasure. And this heaven piercer can crush any barrier. The old coots might have set one up around the elite area, but we can now just walk out of it. Chi Feng raised a smug eyebrow. Yujuan was giddy, jumping all over. What are we waiting for? Let's blow this barrier open and go have some real fun. Hey, junior sister, I'm not done talking yet. Why the rush? Chi Feng cut her enthusiasm by holding her back. As his eyes glinted, he laughed at her perplexity. Junior sister, we're not out on a stroll. Grandpa gave me the heaven piercer and a mission. It's not just to get out of this boredom, but to do something as well. What? Tell me. You know we're like two peas in a pod. Your problem is my problem. She hit her chest with pride. Chi Feng nodded and smiled. Nothing hard, just go wilder this time. Do you know why the old coots have gotten us stuck here? Or why they've forbidden elites from leaving the area? Why? Batting her big eyes, Yujuan asked. Engrossed, Chi Feng grinned. You wouldn't believe even if I told you. After we messed up the labor office, they are now holding an apology banquet. Our two grandpas and the old coots represent us in accepting the apology. If we go as well, we'd be sure to humiliate and taunt them until they can't hold it in. That will give our grandpas the excuse to crush the labor office. But the old coots want to avoid it at all costs. Really? Yujuan laughed after a moment. Who the hell is that spineless elder or venerable running labor office anyway? He got smacked around the first time, and now he turns the other cheek forward. There's no way such a guy can match the inner sect's venerables and elders employs. Hi. Qifeng nodded. I heard the one leading the labor office is just a disciple. No elder or venerable would just bend a knee like this. And the guy is even sect leader's aide, forcing the others to listen to him. But I bet that after this stunt, none of them will ever give him any attention. Aide? Hi. He only cares about elites, yet he trusted this important task to someone out of his circle? No way a disciple can match the elders and venerables, and now look at him, bowing down to apologize. Yujuan giggled with a naughty glint in her eyes. Then she grabbed Qifeng and ran outside. What are we waiting for? We have a job to do. I'm dying to see which cowardly disciple thought himself so high and mighty and now is about to get a beating. Qifeng smiled along. A fool without a doubt. He must have got sect leader's favor to lead this job, and now he's in a sorry state from botching the job. All he can do is give up. Ha. Yujuan giggled as the two went for the barrier whoosh. Just then, a white ribbon shot for their heads. They panicked and barely dodged it. The ribbon slammed into a cliff like a sword, right as a gentle lady floated down on it. Her smile was bright, but her eyes were deadly cold. The elite area is sealed. No one can get in or out, especially you two brats. Did you forget already? Oh, it's Senior Sister by Lien. And here I thought it's someone important. Yujuan mocked. Just like how venerable Bai can't handle our grandpas. Neither can you touch us, Balian said. Grandfather may be a venerable and displeased with some people, but it has nothing to do with me. I have not come here to settle grudges, but to uphold the rules. Cool. Qifeng gave his thumbs up. I do admire Senior Sister's civic duty. It's why I like you. But it's best that you turn a blind eye today. We're of the same cultivation and Yujuan is in the 4th layer radiant stage. With 2-on-1, Senior Sister can't handle us both. Well, aren't you confident? Her smooth eyebrow arched in a taunt. Qifeng, you've not once beaten me. When did you get so cocky? Ha. Qifeng laughed. Senior Sister, that is because of my endless and undeniable admiration for you. But now that I have a job to do, I can't go easy on you anymore. So you mean you've always held back? Why else? You think some broad like you can ever match me? Qifeng sneered. Bai Lian nodded. Then let me see what you're really made of. Bai Lian shot for the two as the white ribbon flew in her hand. The massive yuan qi made the couple tense up and dodge away. Boom. What was left behind was a dozens of meter deep crater ruining the place. Qifeng was startled while Yujuan paled. He could put up a tough front all he wanted, but he knew fully well that Bai Lian was as strong as him. Even though he never went all out against her till now, he knew that even if he did that, victory wasn't certain. Choosing instead to bide his time for the right moment to finish her off, he never thought that time would be now. Firestorm. Seeing the hundreds of ribbons coming at them again, Qifeng swiped with his 2 fingers and a fire sea exploded forward. Yujuan got to work as well, holding her palms together and unleashing a tornado into the fire sea to amplify its power while weaker. The two made for a good match in skills and increased Qifeng's move's power by 40%. Moon's wind embrace. Yujuan shouted again at this point. Bai Lian turned serious. The hundreds of ribbons shot like meteors, absorbing the fire and wind, then smashing into the couple meteor shower. Feeling that great power upon them, the two were startled. Even women were capable of incredible feats, but then a cool breeze made the meteors fizzle out before they could hit them, ending up slumping on the ground. The grass withered and the earth turned black. Chapter 588, True Intent. Chapter 588, True Intent. Acid rain. Lucia. Bai Lian shouted. A laughter came. Junior Sister Bai Lian. Let's all take it easy so we might meet again. The two juniors are only going out to get some fresh air. What's the harm in that? Whoosh. A youth in green floated down, his smile twisted, and his power making even Bai Lian falter back 5 steps. He got even stronger. Bai Lian squinted. Qifeng was overjoyed. Senior brother Lucia, you're out of seclusion? What great timing. Ha. I've been out for a while now, and I'm only here now to help. Lucia snickered. You do your job and I'll handle mine. And that's to get you out of here. Chi Feng bobbed his head. Ha ha ha. Senior brother Lucia is Venerable Shi's prized pupil. We're on the same side. Lucia nodded and turned to the Frosty by Lien, junior sister. With me in the 9th layer of Radiant stage, and you being in the 8th, there's no way you can win. I am not one to be lenient in my attacks, but out of respect for Venerable Bai, I hope you won't fight me and will let them go. While each one of them had a big shot behind them, neither wanted to take things too far. As disciples, incurring the wrath of an elder or venerable, even when under sect leaders' protection, they would still suffer the consequences. The sect's rule stating they couldn't kill disciples might protect them if they went after some nobody disciples, while killing the precious kin of some elder would leave them with no place to hide. All that was left to do against a madman bent on taking you down with him was to give in and die. That being said, while all elites were savages and cruel, they knew when to stop. Like now, for instance, Lucia had Venerable Shi behind him, but killing Venerable Bai's granddaughter would render Venerable Shi's protection useless. Bai Lien took a deep breath and shouted, Lucia, the 3 venerables have asked us to patrol the barrier and stop anyone who exits it. You know me well enough to know that I'm not going to stop just because of a few words. Ha ha ha, true. Lucia chuckled. I'd have let this one go if it were any other time. But oh well? Lucia's eyes hardened and he shot a green whirlwind at Bai Lien. The pressure took her breath away, even more so when the acid within could even melt her bones. The caustic scent spread its foul odor everywhere. Bai Lien faltered 3 steps. Coming to an impasse, she knew Lucia was going easy or he'd be striking with something she couldn't cope with. Without even giving her a chance to breathe, Lucia wanted her to get lost. If you can't even stop this, scram. Bai Lien felt even more morose. Just this first strike showed the gap between their levels. Lucia snickered at her difficultly, the mockery enraging Bai Lien. Lucia, your arrival won't change a thing. The shout announced the arrival of a yellow light shooting from the ground, meeting the green whirlwind and scattering it earth canopy. Crack! Lucia was pushed 2 steps back with a dark face whoosh. A youth in gray with sharp features, blue eyes, pointy nose and thick lips, as well as large ears, stood next to Bai Lien. The mood of the other 3 sank. Lucia gnashed his teeth. Chi Changlong, you're out too? Just in time too. Who else can stop your murderous tendencies, Lucia? Chi Changlong snorted and barked at the pair. You too. I know what you've done, and Fiendine warned me that you'll be up to something. You won't get to touch labor office again. Big words for someone who's alone. You can't stop all of us. Lucia glared. Chi Changlong, it's time for me to take that best elite title from you, here and now. Chi Changlong mocked. Lucia, you've been after it for a while now. A shame you'll never have it. We'll know after we fight. You're no match for me after my seclusion. I will take that best elite title, and after the Double Dragon Gathering, I'll become the sect leader's successor. Go ahead and try. Chi Changlong snorted. The two were at odds, ready to come to blows at any second. Chi Feng and Yu Juan tensed. This was a fight to settle the next sect leader. Lucia was always 1 step short of beating Chi Changlong, but had always worked hard to overcome this small gap. The two ended up as Lucia's supporters. Give him hell, senior brother. Then they thought better of it. Wait, we gotta go humiliate laborers, not join this bustle. Senior brother Lucia, maybe you should first figure out how to get us out. Chi Feng began. A loud bang cutting him off was the answer for him as the barrier above them shook and broke. As the bright sun's rays shined on the 5 elites' eyes twitching, the 5's hostilities ceased right away. Someone broke the barrier. Whoosh! A thin figure came over while they were still out of it. Pardon me, but could you point me in the direction of Chi Feng and Peng Yujuan? After another round of eye twitching, they looked at the sloppy guy in shabby clothes, carrying a broom and smiling kindly. Who are you? Bai Lien sized him up, but all she got was a first-layer Radiant Stages vibes, and that made her relax. The guy scratched his nose. Ha ha ha. Oh, where are my manners? I am the boss of Labor Office, Shuafan. You can just call me the coolest, best laborer the demon scheming sect has ever seen. Steward Zhua. We're holding an apology banquet, you know? With 7th and 2nd elders already present. How can we miss the stars of the show? Chi Feng and Yu Juan? Ha ha ha. The feast will never achieve its height without them. So you're that rotten waste Shuafan. Did you not get your face slapped hard enough that you thought to turn the other cheek forward? Yujuan mocked. The guiding venerables feared that we'll make a scene at the banquet and had us stuck here. Yet you punk have just waltzed in. Ha! You've come right into my lap. You've really opened my eyes as well. Chi Feng pipped and Zhuo Fan smiled back. I take it that you're the two brats? And what if we are? Are you going to bang your head and beg yours truly to go to that dump again and smack you some more? Pang Yujuan snickered. Chi Feng laughed alongside her. Zhuo Fan grinned. Oh, you've understood it all wrong. This apology banquet is for 2nd and 7th elders in particular. Ain't that the same? They're our grandpas and we're the main stars here. Yujuan stuck her chin out. Zhuo Fan shook his head with a smile. Oh no. You've completely misunderstood me. We're apologizing to the elders alone. Because, you know, their precious grandchildren are about to die at my hand. Zhuo Fan's eyes took on a savage glint. His face hardened as he looked at his prey with a grin. Chapter 589. Sweeping Elites. Chapter 589. Sweeping Elites. Who? A domineering wave swept everyone, like solidified bloodthirst, like an unending flood coming to drown them. Like the world crashing down on them, their hearts were stricken with utter disbelief at this display. Some fresh, radiant stage, nobody laborer, just released a more savage aura than their masters. Who the hell is this guy? The more they looked into Zhuo Fan's eyes, the worse they felt, like facing a peak radiant stage expert. Zhuo Fan, you two-bit filthy laborer would dare come to the elite area? Suicidal much? Chi Feng threatened while shying 2 steps away. His cawing had the same tone and attitude. Yet even a blind man could tell that he was running away. Why else would he waste time prattling instead of outright fighting? Monologuing only cemented his cowardice. All bark and no bite. A true boss on his turf would not just stand by and attack at once. All this while, Zhuo Fan had a creepy little smile on his face and shook his head in utter disappointment. All of them were at a standstill, with no one moving a muscle. What the hell? Whose turf is this again? Near-peak radiant stage experts are just standing by, instead of attacking a fresh radiant stage cultivator, yet the ones affected by the flood of bloodthirst found it totally appropriate. Their instincts were screaming at them that this guy was no pushover. Chi Feng reacted the worst of them all. He was sweating like a pig from the eerie vibe that he was getting, that not even Gue who could match. Gue whose power wasn't focused, while this guy unleashed it all upon them with impunity. After fighting Gue who and meeting Zhuo Fan, Chi Feng came to learn the meaning of worlds apart. If Gue who was merely a wolf's pup, this guy was a demon having gone through thousands of killing fields. It's obvious now that this kid isn't the sect leader's aide for nothing. Chi Feng's heart was a mess. Zhuo Fan grinned as he watched them. You two made quite a scene a few days ago at the labor office and even said it was the labor office's challenge. So what? Aren't you apologizing for it? Yujuan screamed her moral high ground. Even while she shifted ever so slowly behind Chi Feng, Zhuo Fan nodded. True, I admit to everything. As for what comes next, it's not important. Ha ha ha. Since you proclaim that the laborers disrespect their betters, here I am disrespecting you all. By sect's rules, when a low status fights another disciple of higher status, the capital punishment isn't pursued. So, are you coming at me all at once or one at a time? Zhuo Fan eyed the couple, holding the broom over his shoulder, yet those eyes drove fear into the two's hearts. Fresh radiant stage cultivation aside, that thick bloodthirst was a blatant sign of what was about to happen. Zhuo Fan, there may be such a rule, but since it's outside of any competition, they can refuse your challenge. And since you've burst into the elite area, you've broken the rules. It is you who has some answering to do. Lu Xie shouted. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and shook his head since he couldn't ascertain Zhuo Fan's capabilities. He tried shielding the couple. By saying this, he was actually alluding that Zhuo Fan would have to fight the entire elite area. Let's fight if you want, but can you take all of us? Would Zhuo Fan shake in his boots due to some scamps? Zhuo Fan put on his most condescending and demeaning smile as he taunted them. Stop barking and fight already. Aren't there more of you? Don't worry, I will take full responsibility, since this time it's the truth. Cocky prick. Their faces shook with annoyance, and this comment made them all see him as an enemy. Even the earlier infighting stopped. We don't give a flying damn about those two, but how dare you come to challenge the elite area? What do you take us for, dirt? Though he is a weird one. The couple now had some good shoulders to lean on and shed all their fear. Whoosh. What came next were tins of people in fancy clothes surrounding the scene. One of them cupped his hands at them and said, "Seniors, this guy just broke the elite area's barrier. We were just about to capture him, but he moved too fast. Thank you, seniors, for holding him down." Breaking the sex barriers isn't how you challenge one's seniors. Lucia grinned, having found Juofan's weakness. Even if we kill you now, the sect leader can't touch us. Juofan saw through him and laughed. True. If you can kill me, that is. Huh, not me but us. Lucia took it upon himself to share this responsibility with everyone present. On one hand, he'd finished the job Master had for him, to threaten the sect leader, and on the other hand, he'd get away scot-free. Don't just stand there, attack. Capture him dead or alive. The oblivious newcomers obeyed without second-guessing his motivations, or the fact that he was using them. What good would come from shedding sect leaders' AIDS blood anyway? Lucia knew it all too well and let others do the dirty work. Juofan snorted and his broom shifted. I said I've come to challenge the elite area, so all of you come at once. Sending some nobodies won't even make me break a sweat. Whoosh. A mere sweep of the broom, covered in a red glow of course, had the space whistling. Then came the bang. The dozens of radiant stage experts felt as if something slammed in their chests and coughed blood as they got flung into the air. They soon made intimate contact with the pavement, landing out cold. It happened so fast, they couldn't even figure out how they got beaten. SSS. The main six gasped in shock at Juofan's outrageous show of strength. Dozens of radiant stage experts defeated in one blow? No way. How is he just a fresh radiant stage cultivator? The couple started shivering all over, incredulous that the worthless labor office would hide such a monster. Their knees softened, and they slumped to the ground. Juofan eyed the two with a creepy smile. You came into my turf to harm and kill my fellow disciples. Today I will make you pay by taking your worthless heads with me. Juofan shot for the two, his overwhelming aura stopping them from even taking a stand. Like deers in the headlights, their minds blanked, forgetting they had a good pair of legs under them to run with. Wait, they're elites like us. You can't harm them. Chi Changlong's sense of duty kicked in as he scrounged up the courage to face Juofan and struck by sending a yellow glow from his palms. It had the hardness of a rock and the power of the earth, and Juofan handled it with a broom sweep, crushing the glow and hitting Chi Changlong in the chest. Chi Changlong coughed up blood and was ashen. Chapter 590. Kill. Chapter 590. Kill. Whoosh. Hundreds of ribbons came at Juofan, and he replied with another sweep as he went for his original target. He didn't even spare the attacker a glance. His sweep sent a suction force that got all the ribbons trapped in a quagmire, unable to escape in that instant. His broom was covered in ribbons. Juofan flicked it and sent a powerful shockwave through them back at Bai Lian, sending her flying like Chi Changlong before her. She coughed up blood as well, and pale Juofan twisted his wrist and the ribbons broke apart as he sped towards his quarry. Not once did the attack even make him pause. Bai Lian was overwhelmed by how useless she felt. The elite area hailed her as one of the strong ones, but reality showed there would always be someone out there stronger than her. How is he so freaking strong? None of us can match him. Lucia was dumbstruck. This laborer is perhaps too monstrous. The lucky couple shuddered as they shirked backwards while pleading, Senior brother Lucia. WW, what do we do? D, don't panic. I'll use poison to stop him while you run. Lucia was shocked as well, but was confident in his poison arts. Poison was a vile path to tread on, but not without its perks. It excelled in infecting one's core. You might have a huge yuan qi and a tough body, but poison will destroy you anyway. Lucia shouted, Poison dragon. Who? A green wind shifted into a dragon as it went for Juofan. The revolting stench coming from it would send anyone's mind out of commission. Chi Feng was overjoyed as he took Yu Juan and ran away. Lucia grinned. Let's see you fight something you can't touch, freak. Anyone who has ever touched it has died. Even if you can handle it, it'll at least buy them some time. Crack. With a loud sound, Fan smashed the dragon with another broom swing. It didn't slow Fan down at all as black energy covered his body like a true demon. The poison got sucked into the blackness and the attack was neutralized in an instant. Ugh. Lu Xie was tongue-tied as his prized art was rendered worthless. Crud. This freak is invincible in every way. Be a good dog and scram. Fan got in his face and swept him out of the way. He did exactly what everyone else had done so far, coughed up blood and turned pale, though his eyes were filled with shock as he muttered, how? Woo. A heavy wind pushed Chi Feng from behind, like death had latched onto him. He saw Fan right behind him, bearing that creepy smile which froze his blood. He forced himself to act and pointed with 2 fingers. A huge sea of fire shot for Fan, and Yujuan helped by adding wind to the mix. Although against Fan, they might as well not even try. Fan didn't even need martial arts to deal with them. A mere sweep is all it took to snuff the flames. The sweep's shockwave slammed into the couple's chest till they coughed up blood again and again. Their meridians burned from the pain. Incapable of using Yuan Qi ever again, Fan made sure of that crack. Fan's charge stopped at last, right in front of them, bearing over them with his snicker, a god mocking these insignificant ants. To the two, Fan looked like a demon made of flesh. So many experts tried to stop this monster, but all failed. Qi Changlong, Bai Lian, Lu Xie, Chi Feng and Yujuan attacked at the same time, yet didn't even faze him. Fan's power was beyond what their limited psyche could think of in just a blink. All of the elites were lying down defeated. From shock and unbridled power, it was like they were fighting an elder or a venerable. Right, sect leader entrusted him with elite labor office. That's a duty reserved for elders and venerables. That proves he is no mere disciple. And we just kicked the hornet's nest by messing with him. He's got an elder's power yet is still a disciple. Sect leader has really done it this time. Chi Feng understood it all at death's door and started crying. Yujuan was too terrified to make a peep and only shook. Fan grinned. What was it that you said in the labor office? That laborers took advantage of you and challenged you? Ha ha ha. Well, here I am challenging you as well. Satisfied? Pleased? Content? Bro, we're sorry. Chi Feng bawled like a baby. Bro, you are at the bottom. A laborer, yet bear outrageous power. With the sect's rule, you can kill and challenge anyone and nothing will happen to you. That's totally cheating. Everyone else echoed his grief with a nod. Hiding himself in the labor office with that strength? How many have died at his hands till now? Fan shook his head. Ha ha ha. How is that unfair when you've got mountains behind you? Elders and venerables. You think I don't have anything better to do than to dupe you and to make so many enemies? Yeah. Steward is a new disciple and alone. So why would you need to make enemies? Let me go and second elder, Grandpa, will owe you. Catching the hint in Fan's words, Chi Feng showed off his status. Yujuan did the same. My grandpa, 7th elder, will owe you as well and will leave you alone. We're only doing what we're told. Please let us go. The two begged. Despite Fan's twisted smile, you should have realized this from the start. Now it's too late for amends. Why? The two asked. Fan said, a killer must pay with the same coin. You came to labor office to kill and harm my people. What will happen to my name if I return to them empty-handed? You're doing it for those rotten laborers? Offending our grandpas just for that? Chi Feng cried, threatening again. Fan, are you going to have elders hunt you down for a bunch of lowlives? Fan raised a taunting eyebrow. Threatening me, is it? Ha ha ha. Yes, those lowlifes are not worth a dime, but my reputation is worth mountains. Besides, you guys stole something from me, and it's about time you give it back. What? Yujuan stammered. Fan grinned. Dignity and foundation. You brats used the time I was gone to rob my laborers of their dignity, of their foundation. Without that, labor office will never stand tall in the sect. See, I have no choice. Now you can pass on with peace of mind. Fan stepped on Chi Feng's neck, splattering blood everywhere. Chi Feng's eyes bulged out in shock from Fan's cruelty, or maybe stunned that there was someone in the demon-scheming sect going as far as to kill him despite knowing about his grandpa. Yujuan shrieked next to Chi Feng's head. Fan sent her an annoyed glance. Noisy. He repeated the act with her this time, and the shriek was cut short. All that was left was the horrified look in her eyes. Chapter 591, Killer Feast. Chapter 591, Killer Feast. The others were overwhelmed by the brutality. Besides Qi Feng and Yu Juan being elites, they were grandchildren of elders first and foremost. Not even sect leader could touch them. Yet an anomaly appeared and killed them right in front of their eyes. Is he not afraid of making the elders go crazy? The three looked at Zhuo Fan with fear. He's insane. A madman uncaring of anything. They all felt danger from how easily the two were murdered. Fearing they would be next on this lunatic's bucket list, Zhuo Fan had no time to mind the extras, taking the rolling heads and stuffing them in his thunder ring with a content look. He took off. What he left behind was mockery, and you call this the elite area? The trio hanged their heads in shame, burning humiliation. A nobody just taunted the entire elite area and got their asses handed to them for the first time in the history of demon scheming sect. Yet, what was truly humiliating was that they, the peak of demon scheming sect's talents, were unable to take even a single hit. These elites were lower than even a laborer. Then again, that was no ordinary laborer. But that was not what the world would remember. All they'd ever say was how the elites were nothing. Lucia, do you still want to fight? Qi Changlong asked from a crater somewhere. Little Marshall Brothers' face twitched, looking at the mess of the unconscious elites, and his heart sank. Qi Changlong shook his head. What's the point, right? Even if you become the best elite, it's just an empty title now. No, I will fight. I will have this title even if it's useless. It involves becoming the sect leader's successor. Lu Xie's eyes steeled. Qi Changlong shook his head. Bai Lian looked at the sky. Who was he? Is he really just a laborer? Ha ha ha, don't be silly. The labor office gave us only one high venerable and is under the sect and ancestors' protection. How can it just give us another disciple even more monstrous? Lu Xie mocked. Bai Lian, you disdain the inner sect's politics and hole yourself in the elite area to train. So you don't know what has been going on. Sect leader brought this brat from the outside. He established the elite labor office and took away the inner sect's foundation. Your two grandfathers are on his side as well, and now the two sides are at war over the elite spots. Qi Feng and Yu Juan went and made a mess at the labor office at Venerable Shi's orders. This kid wasn't there at the time, and the elders and venerables were in a meeting. That's why it worked. They thought that the kid was admitting defeat by announcing a banquet, but look at us now. You call this an apology? It's a killer feast. The labor office is out for blood. Lu Xie sighed. I wanted to notify the master about this, but that brat hit me so hard. I can't even move. Bai Lian and Qi Changlong were stunned. Their two grandpas were on the kid's side, yet he was still so vicious to them. Then again, the guy didn't know them. Leaving them alive was already mercy enough that cooled their jets. Bai Lian even felt safer knowing she was on that freak's side. Bringing him into the elite area and having him join the coming Double Dragon gathering would raise their hopes of coming out alive. A must-have godly teammate. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan went to the apology banquet where all the guests were seated, be it invited or uninvited ones. All were bloody there. Why? One asked. To watch the show. Venerable Qi and Bai sat along with the labor office's oldies in a brooding silence. This had got to be the most humiliating situation. Even in their lives, the laborers weren't looking any better either. Since plenty of them were outer and inner disciples, they'd now come to regret their decision after being forced to endure such humiliation. In contrast, the audience was eager and thrilled to see this banquet blown sky high and to laugh at their misfortune. Who the hell told you to leave? And for what? A few baubles? Now look at you. No self-respect or dignity to speak of. Huh? As for the main guests of today's show, second and seventh elders, oblivious to their kin's gruesome demise, were smug to high heavens. Sitting there all cocky next to them were the elite's guidance venerables, three fiends of hell, followed by Gue, whose group of four. It had all started with them, and they were now here to make a public apology. That was the reason for staying so close. Though their savage looks and stern faces seemed to say otherwise, second and seventh elders got smugger the more they saw their bitterness. They were aiming for an explosive reaction, or how else could they finish them off? As for those inner sect oldies, they looked on with cold attitudes, waiting for the smoking gun. The stage was set, the curtain raised, ready to drop it on labor office for good. Venerable Qi, Venerable Bai, we've been waiting for a while now. Let's start. Second elder looked around with a smile. Venerable Bai dismissed him, Steward has yet to come. Steward, a nobody laborer? Seventh elder mocked. Oh, how the elders and venerables of labor office have fallen, needing a disciple to tell them what to do. That explains this banquet, haha. The inner sect's oldies joined him in laughter, despising and jeering the labor office's people. Now that the labor office had lost its dignity, its people were tasting the humiliation as well, making even inner disciples disdain them. They would have slapped them dead at any transgression before, while now, they had to stew in anger from having even these brats mock them. The humiliation was so heavy, they even came to regret defecting. Rotten Fan, you've just lost all our dignity in one night. The labor office's oldies cried injustice and cursed Fan. Venerable Chi was boiling with rage, yet said, Steward established the elite labor office and sect leader appointed him as the head of this establishment. We must all obey him. The feast cannot start without him. As an apology banquet, he should cater to our needs and wants. Yet a mere laborer has set up this banquet and still makes us wait for him. He has no intent to make amends. We don't answer to labor office and don't have to follow your rules. If you still want to wait, that's your problem. But we are inner sect elders. Get the banquet started, or we're leaving. Second elder slapped the table as the inner sect's oldies chimed in. There's no point to such a fake apology banquet. Let's just leave. We'll report this to the sect leader as well, for wasting our time. Venerable Chi and Bai shook their heads in defeat. Kuei Lang's group was getting angrier by the second. Only the three fiends of hell were trying to lighten the mood, with Fiend Yang recounting his revolutionary history and great deeds. People, if you find this boring, I shall recount our days in the Double Dragon Gathering while Steward is away. In those days, 4 fiends of hell led the brave elites to the Double Dragon Gathering. Wait, hold, stop. We're not bored, not one bit. You don't have to enlighten us. Everyone cried before Fiend Yang got too much into it. Damn rotten Fiend Yang has brought up this story for 800 times already and still calls it some frickin' secret. There's no one more outrageous than him for sure. Fiend Yang sulked at their obvious refusal and drowned himself in wine. Fiend Gue and Fiendine chuckled. It was then that a disciple shouted, Steward has arrived. If elders wish for adulation, then that is what I shall offer. Steward Kuei Lang shouted. Fan waved him off. The 2 elders pondered as smugness festered on their faces. Well, he is the top dog of the elite labor office. Getting him on his knees will crush the labor office. This was way better than making Kuei Lang's group blow out. Here we are racking our heads on how to make the punk submit, yet he does it of his own free will. Brilliant. Serves you right for messing with fire. The 2 elders laughed and nodded. As long as you go all the way, sure. Now say that the labor office will never mess with the inner sect and elite area again, and we'll call it even. Sure, just don't regret it. There are many elders and venerables present. Fan clapped back. The 2 elders nodded like winners. Of course, we are prideful elders who will never pick on laborers. I knew I could trust the elders' sincerity. Fan switched tunes right then and there. His face took on a heavy look. Like kowtowing was an ordeal. Kuei Lang's side knew he was trapped in this humiliating scene but still shouted, Steward I'll do it for you. Sir is the head of the labor office. You can't lower yourself. What will it make of the rest of us? No, let me. Steward save me, and the least I can do is take Steward shame for myself. No, me. You've looked over Yuer for so long. Yuling, why is a woman fighting me over this? I'll do it. All of them were fighting to take Fan's shame. The 2 elders were sullen, though, to find that Fan was seen in such high regard after only managing elite labor office for a short amount of time. He could even make these proud talents fight over who was to take this burden. Inner sect lost against him in this regard. They only know how to kiss ass. This place must not survive any longer. The elders shouted, Quiet, will you? This is Fan's matter, and he must take responsibility for it. I will not rest until I see him banging his head 3 times. The others shook and their hearts sank. They figured out these 2 were out to get Fan by all means necessary. They couldn't care less for some disciples. Fan shrugged. See how much the elders care about me? Now don't fight any more since I am the one to blame here. Zhuofan let a snicker slip out as he watched the audience before stopping on the elders with an apologetic smile. Elders, I deeply regret my actions and ask for your forgiveness. To show my deep sincerity, I've prepared a gift and then I shall kowtow. I never knew such a masochistic and spineless fool existed. Wasn't it our two brats who challenged the labor office? How did it turn out in our favor? But if he insists on a gift, we can't just let his sincerity go to waste. That would be bad manners. The elders snickered. Zhuofan's hand shone and revealed 5 boxes. 3 he gave to the fiends and bowed. I hope this will help atone the harm that came to your disciples. We all know who's to blame here, so why must you debase yourself so much? 3 fiends of hell shook their heads and Fiend Young spoke. This gift is your promise to us, but we understand more than everyone. You don't have to apologize, because you represent the entire elite labor office. Haha, I shall bear that in mind. Zhuofan bowed. 3 fiends of hell looked at the glorious light spilling out from the boxes, taking in the thick spiritual energy, and their eyes bugged out in shock. Everyone else cried. 9th grade demonic treasures. Chapter 593, Both at Once. Chapter 593, Both at Once. 9th grade demonic treasure. The 2 elders' eyes twitched with greed and hope. The dazzling light show coming from the boxes blinded them. They had heard how the elite labor office was filthy rich, but seeing was believing. This kid took out 3 9th grade demonic treasures, and by the looks of it, they are top quality. The fiends traced the baubles in their hands. Astounded, the elders' hearts skipped a beat, and they turned to Zhuofan's last 2 boxes. The brat can fake kowtowing if it means getting our hands on such priceless demonic treasures. It's all worth it. Zhuofan snorted inside and tapped the boxes. The 2 elders were dying to know what's inside those boxes by now. They just had to have those shiny and marvelous trinkets, yet Zhuofan milked the suspense for all it's worth until they couldn't even sit straight. Only then did he say, Elders, I will ask you one last time. If I kowtow and apologize, will you leave this matter be? As elders of the sect, our word is gold. Now hurry up with the gifts. 2nd elder didn't do well with patience. 7th elder's eyes never left the boxes. His brain on the fritz. Zhuofan grinned and offered the boxes. Ha ha ha. Then if you would please honor me, elders. The 2 were already eager to open them, but what they saw stopped them in their tracks. Everyone was curious too. While Zhuofan shed his humble smile to replace it with a more sinister expression to match the mood, what treasures could have them so lost for words? Fiend Young asked. Peering over those boxes had him shocked as well. Now that baffled the audience even more. Just what divine items are those boxes carrying? Fiend Young stammered. H-heads Chi-Feng and Yujuan's heads. Say what? Everyone was floored. Everyone knew those 2 elites, yet here their heads were served in neat little boxes for their respective grandpas. Is he suicidal? They turned a stiff gaze toward Zhuofan, whose savagery was laid bare. He did it on purpose. He is a lunatic and psychotic to taunt the elders so much, and to think we took him for a wimp before, when in fact he has the biggest testicular fortitude of all. Well, elders, is my gift to your liking? Zhuofan drove it in, like he had done them a favor. Zhuofan. The elders howled like wraiths. Their eyes were bloodshot and they exploded with power. The fancy decorations and gourmet food around them was pulverized goo, whose side cried out as they were blown away. Venerable Bai and Chi rushed over to Zhuofan's side to shield him while giving him stun looks. What's wrong with this kid? When he acts, he shakes the world. Just now they were thinking he was some poor sap. So puny they felt like beating him themselves, though that persona was shed in an instant when he slaughtered others' kin. No elder or venerable of the sect would resort to this madness while he did it in passing. Just what is going on in that head of his? Everyone lost all contempt for Zhuofan, and their hearts were now filled with fear. He's deranged, the worst enemy to have. Now, don't tell me the elders find my gift short. Zhuofan scratched his nose as he smiled. After I poured my heart and soul into it, even went to great lengths for the elders to be able to hug their grandchildren, or I'd have thrown those heads to the dogs. You! The elders roared, exploding with bloodthirst and desire for revenge. Fiend Young intervened before things got more dangerous. Now hold on. We must first get to the bottom of it. He began. Zhuofan, tell me the truth. Did you kill them? But they were in the elite area. Yep. What else did you think this apology banquet was for anyway? Zhuofan chuckled. I went to the elite area bright and early, snatched a couple of heads, then rushed back here. That's why I had to apologize to you, venerables. Forgive me for making a scene in your area. But since you've forgiven me, all is good. The second reason was to apologize to the elders. Sorry, I wasted your kin. Though I do hope you can look past this. Why you meant to apologize for this? Fiend Yang cried. Everyone was in shock. You mean to tell me Steward Zhua ran late to the banquet because he was rampaging in the elite area? And he made it just in time to apologize. I mean taunt. Freaking crazy. None could believe their ears that a laborer would go so far. Zhuofan smiled at Fiend Yang. Ha ha, venerable. Why ask when you know already? Didn't these brats cause a scene at the labor office? It was not our fault, so why would we apologize for it? I held this banquet for the sole reason to apologize to everyone. Haven't I been clear enough already? I'm embarrassed that I had to harm your disciples. But I thought you meant tying broke Yujuan's hand. Fiend Yang was dumbfounded. Zhuofan snickered. Did I do that? I've personally come here to apologize, but since you said there's no need for it, the elite area matter is now closed. Don't tell me you're going back on your word, not with so many elders and venerables around. The fiends' faces twitched and they looked at each other with dumb looks, thinking how they had played right into his hand. This brat challenged their elite area and killed their wards, yet now they've accepted his apology with smiles on their faces and a few trinkets in their pockets. What about them? What apology did you have in mind for them? Fiend Yang grumbled at Kuei Lang's gang. Zhuofan lied on the spot. They're guilty of being weak. The only reason these brats could make a scene was because they weren't strong enough to stop them. But like I said, their fault is small while I'm the true criminal here. Don't you listen? Cut the crap. Second elder blew a gasket. You had planned for this all along, mixing both of them to gloss over your actions. Do you think your ridiculous excuse is gonna fly after murdering in broad daylight? I'll have your head for this. Oh, but you did promise that you'll let this slide with a few bumps on the floor. As if. I'll have you torn limb from limb for what you've done. Second elder roared, and the seventh elder growled as their power exploded. Venerable Bai and Qi were on guard, but Zhuofan merely shrugged. Couldn't be better. Now I don't have to kneel. Insidious rotten bastard. Die. Second elder shot for him, with the seventh elder right behind him. The huge amount of power came at him in waves. Zhuofan squinted and put on a calculating smile. Venerable Qi and Bai interfered and pushed the two back, warning, you're forgetting your place, elders. Think about the consequence of breaking the sex rule for attacking a disciple. Your granddaughter didn't die, so of course you don't care. Second elder glowered. Do you think you can defend the punk forever? Clap. Zhuofan gave a slow clap as he stepped forward from behind the venerables with his trademark evil smile. Well put. I feel for the elders' love for their grandchildren. Why don't I give you two a shot? As per sex rule, a lower status person can attack a higher status person without fearing the consequences. I killed your grandchildren within the purview of the sex regulations. Now it's your turn to be challenged, so if you manage to tear me limb from limb afterwards, no one will get to say a thing. The two were stumped, and the audience was in shock. A disciple challenging an elder? That has never happened before. No one in their right mind was that suicidal. Venerable Bai and Qi were floored by Zhuofan's decision. Deal. The two elders agreed before anyone else could interfere. Zhuofan snickered. Then, both at once. Chapter 594, 2 against 1. Chapter 594, 2 against 1. Have you lost it? Everyone watched Zhuofan in shock. The damn punk doesn't give a rat's ass about anything, doing and saying whatever he wants. Those right there are ethereal stage experts, while you're just a fresh radiant stage laborer. Is death that enticing? Zhuofan Venerable Bai started, but Zhuofan chuckled. These poor elders just lost their kin. The least I can do is get their hopes up. Venerable Bai sighed. You're not giving them hope, but your life? It's fine. Besides, everyone here can attest to my integrity and kindness. It all comes down to having what it takes to take it. Zhuofan grinned. I just love getting these pesky coots, who always keep butting in my affairs, hopes up, then crushing them. Ha ha ha. No matter how much Venerable Bai and Chi were against it, there was no point crying over spilled milk. Since he was so cocky in his skills, why not just let them sort it out themselves? The fiends were still annoyed that Shuafan went over them and challenged the elite area. It was a wonderful contradiction with their fondness for talent, as they hoped he'd grow up to his potential. However, the sect's rule left them hopeless once the challenge was made. None could interfere in this battle. All watched on with eager looks. In one corner were two very influential elders, in the second and third layer of ethereal stage that could pop a radiant stage cultivator with a snap of their fingers. The challenger was the ineffable founder of the elite labor office, Steward. He had them wondering what act he was playing this time. From the moment he threw the heads at the elders, some astute oldies noticed he was taunting the two to this exact moment, but what good would getting them berserk do? Which made this fight all the more interesting. He, against a pipsqueak, 2 is overkill. Second elder spat. Seventh elder, may I take revenge for your granddaughter? Having you join in will give him too much credit. Seventh elder was totally against this idea, but he still nodded. Fine, just make it quick. Obviously. Second elder saw Chi Feng's head once more and roared, Fenger, I will have your revenge. Second elder flicked his hand and unleashed a terrible soul wind. The audience tensed. That's an ethereal stage expert soul attack which no Yuan Chi or body could withstand. Kuei Lang's group knew what Shuafan could do, but even that fell short against a soul attack of this magnitude. Then again, Shuafan didn't care. He just gave a dismissive wave like swatting a fly, and the attack was no more. Second elder was dumbfounded. How the hell? The audience even more so. Since when could a fresh radiant stage cultivator just shirk off a high and mighty ethereal stage expert soul attack? Unless he has a soul form too. That's the only explanation he's still alive. But that's even more impossible. He just reached the radiant stage. Everyone peered at Shuafan to find his secret. The two elders noticed Shuafan's creepy smile, and their hearts jumped. Seventh elder, this kid's strange. While I attack again, you take his head. Second elder sent. Seventh elder nodded as second elder shot for Shuafan with an even bigger soul pressure. New novels chapters are published in free CM. Common sense dictated a radiant stage cultivator would have died by now from having their soul crushed, yet Shuafan took it like a champ. He just stood there, as if second elder's soul pressure was but a cooling spring breeze. Second elder turned serious as he waved his hands and a fire sea ignited around Shuafan. Inferno. Venerable Bai cried. Second elder's soul is the fire element, and that is soul fire. Nothing physical can affect it. The only way to withstand it is with a strong soul. What do we do? Isn't Steward just a radiant stage cultivator? How can he withstand a soul fire? Yu Ling panicked. Kuei Lang's side was tense just as a cool voice came from within the raging fire. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage. Space Crusher. Hum. The shockwave ensued, clearing up 100-meter sphere around him with a bang. Everything crushed to nothing. The soul fire stood no chance in this absolute domain. Second elder faltered 2 steps, shocked, and blood coming out of his mouth. The appearance of Space Crusher annihilated his soul fire and, in turn, gave his soul a deep scar, yet he could hardly believe a punk was capable of such a feat. How did he? The rest were too out of it to react. A fresh radiant stage cultivator just wounded an ethereal stage expert. That's unheard of. They gulped as they watched the smug Shuafan within the fire. He's a monster with total confidence in dealing with the elders. That means the challenge was made on purpose to target them. He's after. Everyone shivered. The labor office's steward didn't do it to get back at 2 disciples, but to get the elders' heads. SSS. With a gasp, the audience realized the sheer scope of his ploy. Everything had been done to bait them, including this so-called apology banquet, to kill the elders in plain sight. They saw Shuafan's right eye glowing with 4 golden halos and shook. Since they were elders, not any challenge would be accepted on the spot. These two were victims of circumstances, forced into a corner without realizing that gave Shuafan the moral high ground in dispatching them for all to see. All held Shuafan in fear and respect. Not just disciples, but elders and venerables as well. The kid's mind was more twisted than the oldies. Grinning from ear to ear, Zhua Fan only cared about one thing, killing. His right eye shined golden once more, divine eye of the void's first stage. Shift. He bam-fed right in front of his quarry and unleashed a palm attack with a draconic roar. The palm felt like a dragon claw of outstanding might clawing at Second Elder's chest. His attempt at using his soul fire to defend proved feeble as the sheer pressure left him gasping. How am I feeling soul pressure? Why you formed your soul? Second Elder's heart cried out in disbelief. Just a radiant stage laborer and yet had a soul form like an ethereal stage expert, and to make it worse, the soul form was even stronger, putting pressure on his own. Chapter 595. No one's going anywhere. Chapter 595. No one's going anywhere. 7th grade demonic treasure, Soul Eater. Second Elder figured out he was getting the short straw when it came to using his soul to attack, which rendered the ethereal stage's defining ability useless. Left with no choice, he'd fight the old-fashioned way. There was no way his larger Yuan Qi, thanks to his ethereal stage cultivation and the help of the 7th grade demonic treasure, couldn't chop the punk up. Fighting with fists against a radiant stage cultivator was utterly ridiculous for an ethereal stage expert. However, everyone here knew he was forced by circumstances, but if there was one thing Zhua Fan prided himself on, it was his body. Coupled with his sturdy Qilin arm that no tool could scratch, that 7th grade toy was nothing but a toothpick grinning from ear to ear. Zhua Fan said, Second Elder, allow me to send you off to your grandson. Hi, ghostly dragon claw. Roar. The draconic roar added to the Qilin's glowing arm, amplifying the strike suddenly. Dozens of wind blades came for Zhua Fan's back. The soul vibe from them spoke volumes. The attacker was an ethereal stage expert as well. Glancing beyond the wind blades at 7th Elder, Zhua Fan smirked, uncaring as his claw continued clang. The claw and sword clashed, letting out sparks, followed by the sound of the sword cracking with a bang. The 7th grade demonic treasure broke like a twig under Zhua Fan's attack, and as it reflected in Second Elder's horrified eyes, it struck home. A simple groan came as blood and gore spurted from smashing Second Elder into a pulp. The area reeked of blood within seconds, staining the ground and sending a shiver down the audience's spine. It was one thing to guess Zhua Fan's master plan, and another to see it executed with such ease. The brat went and frickin' done it. Whoosh! A blaze came from the pile of red goo, flying as fast as it could from here. Having cooled down, Second Elder knew he'd been duped. Everything Zhua Fan did was a meticulous effort to take their lives. It hadn't even been 5 exchanges, and he was already down one body. He was filled with regret now for his raging temper. It only spoke volumes of how insidious and cunning the kid was. Now, his only chance was to get the hell out of here and under Venerable Shi's wing one day. He would have his revenge. He noticed Zhua Fan's cold eye behind his intent to chase, though the wind blades had to be addressed first. He'll have to choose between getting wounded and chasing me or defending himself. Second Elder's soul regained his confidence, finding the time to monologue. You haven't seen the last of me, brat. Oh, but I have. Zhua Fan smirked and fixed his eyes on that red flicker flying away as his right eye shone golden. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation. Whoosh! Second Elder was struck by something invisible, piercing his soul and tearing him apart from the inside. He was gone before he could even announce the agony. He was in. The red flicker was gone from this world. Second Elder's dead. Thanks to having formed his soul, Void Annihilation affected the metaphysic as well. Soul included. Zhua Fan's pearly white smirk was chilling to the core rip. The sounds came from his surroundings as the wind blades found their target. They tore his clothes and were just a hair's breadth from striking his body. With Second Elder taking his focus, he had no time to spare the attacks any attention before they were upon him. Second Elder's death came as a great surprise for 7th Elder. Of joy, he used this tactic to attack while the kid was busy with Second Elder, so there'd be no way to cope with two sides coming at once. Yet the brat was so vicious he forewent the sneak attack and went to deal with Second Elder for good, though in this way, left himself open for the soul wind blades. No matter how tough he was, it was bound to hurt him good. Second Elder, die knowing you helped me get revenge for you. He. A bit too soon to celebrate, however, since Zhua Fan was still alive. He wasn't about to let the guy have his way, Or the great Steward would be ridiculed to no end. Fan spoke. Blood blade. Hum. The sharp wind blades and their sharp ringing stabbed him with pain. But then a red light came from his body and crushed the wind blades before they touched him. It then sped straight for Seventh Elder with impunity. What the hell is that? The old man was startled by it and sent another wind blade, yet it just kept coming. It entered his body and made him shiver as blood leaked from his mouth. This isn't a soul form, just a radiant stage soul attack. He never knew such an insidious soul attack existed, so strong it matched his soul form. What kind of monster is this kid? Seventh Elder was racked with fear. Fan was an abomination shrouded in a thick fog of mystery. Everything he got from Fan till now only scratched the surface, and he bet it was all bait to lure the fools and conceited idiots. Seventh Elder shook at the sight of Fan and ran. Second Elder got done in like nothing, even in the third layer of the ethereal stage. He stood no chance. Only in the second layer. Without any preamble, Seventh Elder threw away his dignity and bolted. All to save his life. It always paid to live and die another day. He understood this saying the best, especially now, caring about nothing but fleeing. Didn't he just see Second Elder monologuing in his flight, only to get cut short? Respect mattered, sure, but even that paled in favor of keeping one's poor little life, so he ran. Though Fan was even faster. Whoosh. Fan was barring him in a flash, thanks to a nifty little golden halo in his eye. Ha ha ha. Seventh Elder, aren't we fighting? Why are you running away? Fan grinned and struck his chest. Seventh Elder put up a tough front. Fan, you dare kill an inner sect elder? I got the sect's rule on my side. Killing you is nothing, so take it like a man. Besides, I already killed one, so what's one more? Fan sent another ghostly dragon claw to splatter him on the ground. Seventh Elder learned from Second Elder's misfortune and knew resistance was futile, so he abandoned his vessel as the attack came. He used his meat suit as a shield to fly away unharmed in soul form. It was one image they wouldn't soon forget. Fan faced the soul again. Seventh Elder, what do you think? Is the inner sect reliable? Ha ha ha, all of us are selfish. The labor office now has enough people to stand up to you all. None of them would stand up to fight for you either. Do you know why? They fear me. Today I challenged you and killed you, and tomorrow I will go for them. I am just a laborer and the rules are on my side. Tell me something. Do you think they'll accept my challenge? Chapter 597. Worth. Chapter 597. Worth. What are you all staring at? You saw them ask for it, even after I went to such lengths to apologize. I even had their well-being in mind when I challenged them to not get the sect's punishment. How is it my fault they were too weak and died off? I've done it by the book and in an open manner, so glare elsewhere. Fan noticed the stink eyes he got from the inner sect's oldies and shouted, keep this up, and I'll challenge you. Whoosh. The threat worked like a charm, and all those malevolent glares lost their target. They all saw what Fan could do, and from the looks of it, he had it easy. Just now Fan didn't even get to take his soul out to play, giving them no way of guessing his limits. The unknown held the greatest fear, especially when a soul showed its true power when it came out. So no one was about to mess with a freak that left two elders as nothing but smears on the ground, though it didn't save them from resentment. So damn strong. Yet only a freaking laborer is outrageous. One just had to look at him the wrong way, and he'd smash them dead. It was the least this law-abiding disciple could do to uphold the rules. Hey, that rule about challenging a superior holding no consequence for both parties shouldn't be left gathering dust. There will be tough times ahead of us. These oldies' conflicts were all handled within reason. Now this freak showed up, and he was just a mere disciple whom no one wanted to do anything with. It was a guillotine hanging over them, waiting to drop they side. It was the inner sect's turn now to be humiliated, to be pissed on, and no way to be able to deal with it. The labor office looked at them with scorn, and even the outer and inner disciples had contempt. The labor office is still the best by the looks of it. The inner sect is off its game. Whoosh. Fan landed, and Kuei Lang's group came over with glee. Steward Zhua, you're so strong. You're truly the best disciple in the sect to even swat ethereal stage experts like flies. Kuei Lang gave a thumbs up. The others bobbed their heads. Fan dissed them with a smile. First, Cut the ass-kissing. I saw your long faces before. Did you actually think I'd apologize for their fault? Ugh. They all sheepishly scratched their heads. Ha ha ha. Steward Joie, since you didn't tell us, you'd have let it slip. Joie Fan cut Kue Lang off. This great scheme of mine was all psychological. To make those two take the bait, I had to unbalance them. It worked to allow challenging and weakening them easier. Consumed by anger, I bet they didn't even give half of what they could do. You think it's that easy to kill an elder once his soul is out? Playing mind games is the best solution. The swift shift from glee to anger to grief did them in. Thanks to you, I had them reach the highlight of their happiness, setting the stage for me to come in and smack them down to earth and fall for my ploy. Demons come from the heart. Always remember this. Yes. The four bowed Gue, who was still frowning behind them. Steward Joie, you should know why I've come to the labor office. Where am I to begin training my heart? It was first Chi Feng that told me I was weak because of my weak heart. Then you come and tell me one grows weaker as their heart's in chaos. How then? I'll tell you here and now, the heart isn't trained but tempered. Joie Fan's tone was serious. Joie Fan saw his doubt. The heart isn't cultivation, using spiritual energy to train your soul and body. All its levels come from insight and experiences. Without experience, there will be only ignorance and no way to come to gain insight into the world. That is the meaning of enlightenment. The world is filled with people going through a wide range of experiences, which makes everyone's hearts different. Does that mean I'll never be able to train it? Gue, who didn't want to give up. Joie Fan pondered. I'll be honest with you. I never cared much for you, so never mention this little secret. You are the product of your environment. The same applies to your heart. Following wise people will give you insight, but how much depends on you. You should stick closer to Elder Yuan instead. What could a bone-tempering old coot possibly do? Gue, who was stumped. Joie Fan's finger moved left and right. Ignorant fool. Elder Yuan is a man with a vast wealth of experiences. He is wise and thoughtful. Here I am going to him many times to debate the world's meanings, and you're just taking him for granted. Learn to appreciate things. Besides, do you really take him at face value? Humph. The only reason I'm kind enough to explain his worth is that you're on our side and did so much for the labor office. Gue, who tried to blink the confusion away without avail, though one thing he did get. The old man is more than he seems for even such a great talent to speak of him like that. Senior brother Gue, who, the old guy is quite nice. Go to him. Kue Lang spoke. Gue, who asked, how do you know? Because nothing he says makes sense to me. Gue, whose face fell. That makes him more of a wise guy than a wise man. How is that logical? Though Kue Lang made him exclaim, though Steward Joie can understand it, that's why I think we're far from the level of these two. Gue, who gave a solemn nod. Master told him Joie Fan's heart was in high places, and since Elder Yuan came at his recommendation while Kue Lang bearing witness, the old guy ought to have some use. He might have something that can help me with my heart problem. Gue, who ran for the labor office, Steward Joie, and everyone. See you later. The others chuckled, and Joie Fan laughed. This guy's so simple, quite like elderly. I knew ages ago he wasn't cut out to be a spy, yet I still watched him all this time. I still have a long way to go to reach the fourth stage of human nature, or I'd have seen through his worth at a glance. I'll need to get more experience under me. Ha ha ha. Don't be modest. More experience? Any more and you'll become a demon. Fiend Yang laughed, coming over with the other fiends. Gone was his grumbling hearing Joie Fan messed up the elite area and was now beaming with joy. Sonny, you're a tough one. Facing two elders alone and still killing them. Becoming an elite and joining the Double Dragon Gathering will definitely get us among the middle three sections. Your feats will become legends. Fiend Yang patted his shoulder, though Joie Fan's face was cold. Sorry, I don't do well with being elite. How can? Fiend Yang was stumped. What are you playing at? This fight alone sets your status in the sect. Now no one will object to you entering the elite area, yet you refuse? Isn't this the whole reason why Wu Yue brought you? Joie Fan smiled. Xia Wu Yue had me over for Double Dragon Gathering, not to be an elite. How else are you supposed to participate? The elite area's sole purpose is to rear disciples for the Double Dragon Gathering. Then you'll just have to change the rules. The disciples going to Double Dragon Gathering will only be from the elite labor office. None of the others will come from the elite area. Zhuo Fan shouted his conviction. Everyone was baffled by him. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose. When all is said and done, it was the elite area that taunted us, even if instigated. I've said that I'll take back the labor office's glory, and I will. First was the inner sect, and now all that's left is the elite area. Didn't you all say we're not worthy of becoming elites? Fine then, to join the Double Dragon Gathering, you'll just have to come to us and do menial tasks. Though it's up to me to see if you're worthy of being a laborer. How can you say that? We didn't say anything like that. Why should we pay the price for those two brats' crimes? And aren't they dead already? Fiend Young advised, Zhuo Fan, your amazing talent has us on your side, but learn when to back down. I need to be tough since it concerns my disciples' dignity. Zhuo Fan said, tell Xie Wuyue, if he accepts, I'll join Double Dragon Gathering. And if he refuses, I'll just stay here as the laborer's steward. The fiend's faces fell while Kuei Lang's side was awed. He's the best manager the labor office has ever seen. Going as far as to talk back to the powers that be for them. That's why those 4 scheming demons follow him. It's not just their interest in him, but his worth too. Chapter 598, Worth. Chapter 598, Worth. The trio turned apprehensive, not wanting to accept Zhuo Fan's request yet unable to refuse. Zhuo Fan was an irrefutable participant in the Double Dragon Gathering. It was his worth none of them could ever replace. Steward Zhuo, congratulations. This time the entire sect will hum with your name. I bet tomorrow will be busy for the labor office with its new recruits. Ha ha ha, even becoming elite will be a cinch. None of those inner sect oldies will make a peep. Venerable by praised Venerable Chi said, I bet there's no one else like you in the 9 sects to kill 2 ethereal stage elders as a disciple. You've topped them all. The disciples must be worshipping you by now, their role model. They'll all want to get closer to you. We had to work hard to get those that left back so they wouldn't offend you. The other oldies of the labor office nodded. All a smile. Zhuo Fan gave a thin smile back, turning to the fiends. As I said, I won't enter the elite area, though venerable sirs can do what they think about my conditions. Zhuo Fan grinned, spun on his heel, and walked away, not before flipping a nasty smirk back a few steps after. By the way, your elite disciples are in a world of pain, you know. Shouldn't you be hurrying back? What? They all cried out in shock, noticing Zhuo Fan's gaze. Oh, shoot. They forgot the kid burst into the elite area, and there was no way he'd take it easy on anyone. Venerable Chi and Bai's grandchildren were still there as well. Everyone was anxious. Steward Zhuo, were you that hard on them? The two were even more concerned than the fiends, but they also grew nervous at the prospects. While no one liked those leeches, they were the strongest disciples of the sect meant to go to Double Dragon Gathering. Zhuo Fan just shrugged. Ha ha ha, lighten up. I'm not one to get rid of anyone I do not know, or I'd be making too many enemies for nothing. Though not too easy either, or they could have just gotten up and reported me. Whoosh. Venerable Bai and Chi shot for the skies in panic, followed by other venerables and elders with kin in the elite area. On the other hand, the fiends eased a breath the minute Zhuo Fan assured them they were still breathing. Fiend Young eyed Zhuo Fan. We will consider your condition. The rules the sect has been built upon for thousands of years aren't changed overnight. No matter how great a display you pull, some rules just won't bend. Ha ha, people make the rules, and they will change as long as the people want them to. Zhuo Fan threw a box with a snicker. Venerable Fiend Young, take this to Xie Wuyue with the words, a favor for a favor. If he can't do it, return it. Fiend Yang's face twitched. This is plain bribery. Is it that bad? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. With you at the top of the sect, you have priority in taking your pick from the pile of wealth. Who can ever bribe you? You finally have me, the magnate, here to get a little something at long last. If you don't want it, then return the earlier demonic treasures as well. Take the elite labor office as the enemy of the elite area. I don't need peace. Now wait a sec. These matters aren't the same. You beat our disciples and apologized. That ends that. The fiends glanced at their storage ring and the trinkets they got and didn't quite feel like giving them up. Rethinking Zhua Fan's proposal and the demonic treasure within this new box, it was part of Zhua Fan and Xia Wuyue's agreement to annex the elite area and make the labor office the only faction, though it didn't come with outright acceptance from the three. When he fought the inner sect, they didn't give a hoot no matter how many burned or how many fell, since the cream of both parties would end up in the elite area. Now Zhua Fan wanted the elite area abolished, aiming for their bread and butter. No matter how much they cared for the sect's future and liked Zhua Fan as a talent, no one would be that happy to throw away their livelihood. We're digging our own grave. Should we just take these treasures for ourselves and leave Wuyue to decide? The trio pondered a good while, then nodded with a sneaky smile. They not only came out one treasure richer, but they also had a way out. We're not as selfish as the inner sect to block the sect's growth. We will leave it to sect leader to be fair and just in his ruling, to avoid despicable methods such as bribery. Zhua Fan grinned. Sugarcoat it with as many excuses you want. It's still selfishness. You need but take this single step, and you'll be falling in the inner sect's footsteps. I held my end of the bargain, and it's up to him to decide what to do with you when you stole his gift. The trio shuddered and faltered, covering the fear with anger. Are you a mind reader? Haha, of course not. All I see is your greedy eyes, oblivious to anything else. Zhua Fan added. No gain satisfies a greedy mind. One wrong move, and death awaits. It's best you think this through, sirs. Ha ha ha. Zhua Fan left with a laugh. The trio lost at what to do and looking from the box to themselves. Are we just going to give this to Xia Wuyue and dig our elite area's grave? While they were at an impasse as to what to do, a mile out, Xia Wuyue saw everything. The kid just entered the radiant stage and already formed his soul. So strong too. An abomination. Since I last saw him in Tianyu a decade ago, he has become a new man in character and strength. But this will only make the demon-scheming sect's rise come faster. He's a true gem. Xia Wuyue was full of praise for him but scowled as he eyed the three fiends of hell. Don't tell me the fools are going to take Zhua Fan's respectful gift for me for themselves. I even came over to see if the kid could handle the elders, lest everything would go to waste. You better be damn sure you three bring me that gift, or else. Xia Wuyue squinted before leaving. Venerable Bai's gang stepped into the devastation around the elite area, and the disciples were strewn about. Each of the oldies found their target and breathed easier the next second. They're only hurt. If they died, with how savage Steward Zhua is, the sect will run with blood. Lianer, Changlong, Grandpa, we're here? As Bai and Qi called out, Bai Lian and Qi Changlong replied. The two went over and breathed easier too. Inner organs are shaken up and only sealed vessels. You'll be back on your feet in a few days. The kid was truthful. He only killed Qi Feng and Yu Juan. Bai Lian hugged Bai Lian. Venerable Qi nodded. Old Bai, should we have these two go to him? He has to know his allies, or the next time he flips. With his glorious reputation now, making friends is the best thing for these children. Venerable Bai's eyes flashed. Bai Lian asked, Grandpa, you mean that wild beast? The venerables nodded. Venerable sirs, he wrecked the elite area and breached the rules. You should uphold the sect's laws and not let him off. Lu Xia was outraged. 2 elites are killed, and the 3 venerables won't stand for it. Venerable Sure will surely make use of it and fight. Sirs will do well not to make the wrong choice. Venerable Bai laughed. What a foolish disciple. What do you think the rules are for? To raise the strong. With enough worth and strength, the sect itself will pave your way. As for the 3 venerables, they must be grinning right about now from the demonic treasures they got from the kid. As for Venerable Sure, his 2 prized helpers, the 2nd and 7th elders were challenged and killed by the kid. In plain sight too. There's not even the chance of getting revenge. With the inner sect's elders and venerables cowering, who will stir up more trouble? No way. Bai Lian, Lu Xia, and Qi Changlong gasped in disbelief. Venerable Bai shook his head. Disciples all the same, yet so much above everyone else. He twisted the rules to his will, and there's nothing you can do about it. His worth trumps anyone else's. You better sit down if you know what's good for you. The 3 were speechless. Chapter 599. Pave the Way. Chapter 599. Pave the Way. Venerable Sure, this is horrible. Venerable Shur enjoyed some fine wine under a pavilion, a smile tracing his lips as his plans came to a head that was until the shout ruined his mood. Grand Elder scrambled over in a panic. Venerable Shur dissed him. Grand Elder, you've been through a lot at your age, yet a trifle riles you up? Trifle? Taken aback, Grand Elder asked, You know, Venerable Shur? Venerable Shur grinned in pride. I planned for it. Ugh, Grand Elder stammered. You had those two go to their deaths? Grand Elder, how can you still not understand? Venerable Shur raised an eyebrow at his dumbstruck face. Think about it. The second and seventh elders went to make a mess of things in the labor office. I bet the place must be in turmoil right about now. But it's all fine, with how loose they are. Giving them some incentive will have most of them back with us. We'll then use the excuse of disturbing the sect to crush the elite labor office for good. Since they held the apology banquet, the chaos ensuing will be on them. Grand Elder nodded. Oh, that's what Sir means. Isn't that why you're here? Venerable Shur sipped his wine. Grand Elder scratched his nose. These matters are different, yet surprisingly the same. How come? The two elders did make a scene at the banquet per your orders. Grand Elder began. Venerable Shur nodded all naturally, and Grand Elder softly continued. Though they ended up killed. Bang! The wine cup slipped and scattered to pieces on the floor. Venerable Shur turned an incredulous eye to Grand Elder. Gee, Grand Elder, see, can you repeat that? I said the two elders ended up getting killed at the banquet. Grand Elders repeated, disillusioned. Venerable Shur. How? Who had the gall to do such a thing? No venerable has such a right. A venerable would have been much better, at least would give us an excuse. But Grand Elder shook his head in sorrow. The one to do the deed was a disciple, in plain sight too. He used the rules to challenge and kill them so that we can't touch him. Venerable Shur trembled like a leaf. A disciple? Who was it? Who can kill ethereal stage elders? Since when did our sect have such a disciple? Who else but Zhuo Fan? Grand Elder shrugged as he explained everything. Venerable Shur slumped in his chair. A bloody feast? It was premeditated. A trap all along. There's no such thing as apologizing in advance. This was done with full intent of the crime. In regards to this, Zhuo Fan planned on killing the two from the start, but he did it flawlessly. Grand Elder sighed. He first went to challenge the elite area using the same rule that states in a duel between different statuses there are no repercussions. No matter how much damage he caused, it'll be those three venerables dealing with it, not us. But Zhuo Fan soothed them as well. Then the kid challenged the elders, and under the eyes of everyone, they died. All for nothing too. We can't use this to get to him. Venerable Shur's face sank in rage. That devious punk played us. But that pales when he has the power to threaten us. He even killed two ethereal stage elders to prove it. This never happened in the history of the sect. It will make him the single most important figure in the sect. And with the Double Dragon gathering on our doorstep, he'll have the sect at his whim. He is a great genius that might even get us in the middle three sects at the Double Dragon gathering. Grand Elder sighed. Venerable Shur's eyes glinted. What's the point if it's not on our side? We'll only suffer for it. Then Grand Elder probed. Dang. The meeting bell answered for him, and Grand Elder's words were drawn out. It's the inner sect meeting. The sect leader must have called for it. Who the hell else is there that would have the gall to mess with me and strike the bell? Venerable Shur felt more and more suffocated. Xiaoyue saw his dog got some awe under him and wants to promote the punk for it. He wants to send him to the elite area. What do we do? Grand Elder asked. Venerable Shur sighed. Nothing. By killing our two elders, he established his worth and might. Now even some elders and venerables from the inner sect see hope for the sect in him. The brat has earned great merit, and advancement is imminent. All we can do is bide our time. Grand Elder's brow shook. Venerable Shur spat. I know Xiaoyue like the back of my hand. He's uplifting Zhuo Fan for the Double Dragon gathering. But once it passes, Zhuo Fan's talent will threaten his status. We just have to wait for when they'll be at odds in each other's throat, while we will be laying low until they do. Grand Elder pondered and nodded with glinting eyes. An hour later, in the Grand Hall, Xiaoyue was on his throne bearing a majestic vibe. With the elders and venerables on either side of him, even 3 fiends of hell were among them. The sour venerable sure looked at Xie Wuyue's wide grin, laughing in the end. Something amazing happened today. The new replacing the old. A disciple challenged 2 inner sect elders, a testament to the promising new generations, to the demon-scheming sect's great new future and glory. The oldies' faces twitched on cue. We just had 2 of our elders killed in cold blood, and you call that an achievement? It's brazen humiliation, is what this is. While the labor office's oldies were smugger than ever, joining in sect leaders Joy Xiaoyue saw Venerable Shi was still brooding and continued. Now all of you know of Zhuo Fan's might, and I can assume there'll be no objections in having him participate in Double Dragon Gathering, will there? No. The labor office's side echoed, and the inner sect remained silent, their eyes converging on Venerable Shi, yet Venerable Shi was like a stone. Zhuo Fan doesn't want to be elite while requesting for the Double Dragon Gatherings participants to be from the labor office. That is the only condition for joining the gathering. Xie Wuyue eyed Venerable Shi in doubt. The entire hall exploded with noise. The labor office's side supported Zhuo Fan, of course, while the inner sect was totally against it. Sect leader, it's against every rule. Sect leader, the brat is conceited and should rein him in instead of indulging him. Sect leader, the rules are clear and must be upheld. They all voiced their strong objections to this outrageous proposal. Enough. Venerable Shi sneered, and the hall was silent. Venerable Shi's eyes flashed. The rules have always been made to pave the way for the strong. Since it was Zhuo Fan's request, I agree. No way. Everyone was slack-jawed, Xie Wuyue included. What is the old weasel up to this time? Chapter 600. Relocating. Chapter 600. Relocating. Silent as the grave, did Venerable Shi wake up on the wrong side of the bed today? Why is he on Zhuo Fan's side? Allies and enemies alike were stunned. Watching the old-timer as a cow looked at a new gate, have I said something wrong? Venerable Shi smiled at the rest. Only a blind man can't see Zhuo Fan's talent. He is the best chance our sect has in Double Dragon Gathering. We have to remove all obstacles for him to join it, including this quaint rule. Ugh. The stunned silence persisted for a good while. Wuyue had to blink again and again to gain some semblance of reasoning back. Venerable Shi is quite right. I agree. The Double Dragon Gatherings candidates shall be chosen from the elite labor office, with Zhuo Fan in charge. The inner, outer, and elite areas are to cooperate. That is good and all, but we guide the elite area's disciples for the Double Dragon Gathering. With how the candidates are chosen from the elite labor office, do we still hold our posts? Fiendyang asked, having received Zhuo Fan's good-natured gifts. They never opposed such a decision, and Xie Wuyue had planned for the kid to be the team leader from the start. All the more, since Zhuo Fan had such a wild reputation and everyone's side. No matter what ruckus he stirred, it'd be swept under the rug. He even got the right to choose his teammates. All this old fiend could do was fall in line. As long as there was no conflict of interest or principles, Xie Wuyue would be behind him all the way. This was the power of bribes. Why else would a sect leader accommodate some guy by even changing the rules? All rules were, at the end, made by the strong for the strong. Xie Wuyue scratched his nose. The kid can take you in, and it'll be all the same. Having the 3 of you in the labor office where there are already so many more venerables won't harm it. The trio shrugged. The day had come that these venerable coaches had to balk at the whims of a disciple. It never happened in the history of the demon-scheming sect. Not once while the inner sect's oldies' hearts jumped. No matter how godlike Zhuo Fan was, he was still a disciple. With such authority behind him, he could even affect the other oldies' fate. That was a bitter pill to swallow, though a glance at Venerable Shi told them they had nothing to worry about inside in the end if their boss was silent. All they could do was follow the decision came to pass, and after ironing in some more details, the meeting came to a close. How times have changed. The lowest rung of a sect, a mere labor office, has now become its center, even above the elite area. Yet those rotten laborers are still sweeping the disciples and mine lodgings. What's so hard to accept? That side had sported a sudden monkey that even challenged the elite area. The entire sect sees him as the apple of their eye, even fonder than their ancestors. and all to regain the sect's dignity and interests in Double Dragon Gathering. I reckon you'd be flaunting him by now if he was your disciple. When all is said and done, might makes right. The elders and venerables gossiped in groups of 3 or 5, grumbling and complaining as they left the hall left alone with Venerable Shur. Xiaoyue turned a quizzical eye at the old man. Did the world flip, Venerable Shur, to take my side? Ha ha, sect leader, you jest? When have I ever gone against you? I only ever argue for the good of the sect. I hope sect leader is kind enough to overlook my past transgressions. Zhuofan is beyond anything anyone could expect, earning the public's favor. I only hope he can take our sect higher. Venerable Shur bowed. Xiaoyue eyed him with the complete skepticism his position came bearing. Venerable Shur chuckled. If that is all, sect leader, I shall take my leave. Xiaoyue had never said anything all this time, but the old man turned just as he was about to cross the door with a crafty smile. Ha ha, sect leader, you were right about one thing. The new replaces the old, but his drive may be too strong. Today he has the sect change the rules for him. Tomorrow, he'd have a certain someone's chair. What's that supposed to mean? Xiaoyue roared. Venerable Shur grinned. Just the ramblings of an old man, sect leader. Venerable Shur left laughing with another bow. With the new replacing the new, I wonder just how far it will go. How decrepit will the old become? Ha ha ha. Damn geezer. This chapter is updated by Freeweb. Oh, vel cm Xiaoyue spat, his knuckles white. The more he thought about it, the more he saw Zhuofan's power within the sect taking root. His speed was too fast even for this sect master's comfort. The decision spread to the entire sect, leaving inner and outer disciples dumbstruck. The elite labor office had only been a lure so far for a shift in power in the sect, yet its status was still in the lowest rung. The only reason disciples forewent its bad name was because of free stuff, yet it hadn't been long since it formed, and it already stood above the elite area, holding the right to judge Double Dragon Gatherings candidates. It meant there was no getting into the elite labor office without strength any longer. Only the best of the best entered the elite area. But now that the elite labor office had authority, the entrance would be all the harsher. The chances were next to nothing. The ever spectating inner and outer disciples were now hating their guts for the previous indecision of joining the elite labor office. It took just a couple of months for the lame elite labor office to become all the rage, while laborers grew cockier and more confident, especially when the 3 coaching venerables led a gaggle of elites to join elite labor office after passing Zhuofan's strict testing. If they were any more stuck up, their heads would reach their ass. It was they who used to resort to any means to get into the elite area, but lo and behold how the tables had turned, with the elites turned to do the same thing, and all of this came to be by the grace of one laborer, Steward Zhuofan, the manager of the elite labor office. His popularity spiked then and there, to the point of being worshipped. But while the labor office was enjoying the high life, the inner and outer disciples were down in the dumps, all because of Zhuofan's order. Even elite laborers are to sweep the floors. The entire sect couldn't afford to mess with him. Bam! A vase crumbled to pieces as it made intimate contact with the hard, cold floor. Kue Lang picked up the broom and swept the remains while looking sullen at a corner. Your vase? That's a high-class china worth a hefty sum. The youth cried. Kue Lang barked. What's a damn cultivator wasting spirit stones on these damn decorations? You've soured my mood. Now get out and let me clean. Oh no, no, no. Senior brother Kue Lang, this is my fault. I could never have you. Shut it. Steward gave us a job, and we're to sweep the sect clean. Are you trying to make me slack on the job and get punished? Scram. Kue Lang glared. The youth ran like the wind, though just outside the door. Watching in anxiety and nervousness, the room ended up eliciting a wondrous symphony of sounds, from the dullest to the sharpest. In under 15 minutes, Kue Lang strutted out with the broom in tow. Now it's spotless. I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you so much, senior brother. The youth bowed, and Kue Lang left with a puffed-up chest. The youth went in to watch a horror show. The table was only good for tinder now, and the walls sported extra-large breathing holes. This is not sweeping, but demolition. Thinking about how he'd get his room cleaned every day brought a dark cloud over his face. The guy was on the verge of tears. Is there no presentable laborer out there? Well, the good ones were sent to the oldies, while the best of the best, The elite laborers went to inner and outer disciples' homes having never done this. They tended to put too much oomph into it, resulting in this wonderful work of art yet unique every time, though the demolition men knew full well no inner and outer disciple would dare make a peek as they went to work. Since the elite labor office was the cream of the crop in the sect, everyone was dying to join no matter how they grumbled. They couldn't even fight back. Not when it would only get them killed. Laborers had the sect rules at their back, yet the power of elites. It was so ridiculous that not even oldies messed around. I will definitely get in the labor office tomorrow. The youth couldn't take it anymore, but then recalled his meager strength and sighed. With so many vying to get in, the labor office now holds a test to take in only the best. Chapter 601. Demon Soul Sect's Visit. Chapter 601. Demon Soul Sect's Visit. The hazy rays of the morning sun shone upon a small little courtyard. The imposing and immovable figure stood upright like a statue. The only change happening was his shadow, shrinking as the sun rose. He had been standing there for 7 days, unmoving and silent. His thick, brutal aura kept anyone at bay, sending them shivering. A faint tune wafted over as some small-time elder passed over. The statue's ears twitched, and his eyelid trembled. Turning his head, "Oh well, Elder Yuan, you're back?" The statue wanted nothing else but to spew curses, but thought better of it. Opting for a respectful reply, Elder Yuan started, then grinned, skipping over, "Ha ha ha, Sir Guihu, what would you need of me?" "Air." Guihu frowned, lost for words. Zhuofan and Kue Lang did say this guy was more than it seemed, but he just couldn't figure out how. The old man was just that, old and average. He had always been subservient and flattering like any other nobody, and made it all the harder for the grand top inner sect disciple to bend a knee and ask for help. Zhuofan's words of respect for the old coot rang in his mind once again, and his discomfort faded. Throwing his little pride away meant nothing when Zhuofan got off his high horse to debate with this guy Gue, who stammered at long last, "Elder Yuan, Steward had sent me for advice in the way of the heart. Please enlighten me." Gue, who flushed in an instant, dying of embarrassment for speaking like a 3-year-old. Elder Yuan raised an eyebrow, then smiled, "Ha ha ha. Very well done to have overcome your hubris in talking to little old me. This act alone marks great progress in your near future. Being next to Zhuofan for so long does have its perks." How come his mood changed? Gue, who was dumbstruck, seeing the old Yuan losing his ingratiating air of a nobody and gaining an air of mystery. His eyes were so deep that Gue, who felt like he was sinking into a bottomless well. Who the hell is this guy? What's with the labor office hiding so many freaks? Gue, whose heart jumped. Elder Yuan's imposing aura left him feeling a majestic air that not even his master or venerable Shur could unleash. "Ha ha ha, Gue, who, come, I shall impart to you the way of the world." Elder Yuan smiled as he walked deeper into the labor office. Gue, who was right behind him. Elder Yuan stopped before an ant mound. Seeing those busy little critters carrying food, he said, "How would you go about killing these ants?" Gue, who was baffled, with a stomp, "How else? Ha, right you are. These little creatures can die just from that. Try it." Elder Yuan held his beard with a vague smile. Gue, who did as he was told despite the increasing doubt about where this was going. When he lifted his foot, he saw tens of ants dead, but some crawled back up still, going about their way. Elder Yuan shook his head. "See that? Someone slipped through. This is your current state, having power but no means to use it, making fighting even someone in the radiant stage like you a challenge. You've had your way in the inner sect all this time, not because you're strong, but because there was no real expert around. You will see that Double Dragon Gathering will have only people with a firm heart, especially those from the middle and superior 3 sections. Being pushed, they'll be sure to push back harder." Gue, who was flustered, urging Elder Yuan, "What should I do?" "We come back to the same question. How to kill the ants." Elder Yuan leaned over and picked an ant. "Your kick was casual because you took these ants for nothing. What if you were dying of hunger and these ants were the only thing around?" Elder Yuan, I'm a radiant stage. I don't get." Gue, who blinked. Elder Yuan shook his head. "How thick-headed. I was only making an analogy. Or you can also take it as being a child and hungry. How would you have dealt with these ants?" Gue, who stared at the scurrying little bugs, and his eyes turned red. Yes, that's right. You'll eat them all or you'll die. Elder Yuan nodded, releasing a bloodthirst so thick it left Gue Hu shivering. Feeling icy water dumped over him, he turned a dumbstruck look to Elder Yuan, putting that ant in his mouth and swallowing, but the shocking bloodthirst continued, and doubt came then. Who is this man? Elder Yuan held his beard with a smile. See, even when dealing with an ant, you must give your all or starve. You must find your own reason to kill, or you'll never give your all in killing anything. Heaven is cruel to all living things, yet also fair. Thus demonic and righteous paths coexist. The righteous love life, and the demonic pursue slaughter. But killing must be done for life to give it meaning, or slaughtering all in your path would end up consumed by it, erring from the right path. To pursue the path, one must become demonic. That is the only way. Tell me, when you killed any disciple you came upon, was that your true strength? You do not even know what that even is. You've seen Zhuofan, his simple yet precise strikes. They all were meant to kill. Gue, who shuddered, and respect painted his always stern face for this old guy. Go, be a laborer like Zhuofan said, and it will help your heart grow. Youth is arrogance. It is something every one of you has, and that goes double for talents. But the road is filled with twists and turns, and sometimes it pays to show restraint. When you learn to do it like Zhuofan, you will have made progress. It will be of great help to you in future cultivation. Elder Yuan said. Gue, who gave a deep bow and left. His leaving was followed by a clap. Ha ha ha, Elder Yuan's words ring true and home as always. It's the first time I heard you need to be demonic to thread the right path. I'll have to analyze it further. Elder Yuan smiled, then shook his head. Steward Zhua, now don't make fun of these old bones. You're much better at it than me. How kind of you, Elder Yuan. I only wish to have a night chat with you. As Gue, who waited 7 days for you, so have I. It happens to be a wait in vain. It's best if you return. Elder Yuan shook his head. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. What purpose does this serve? That's my line. When did you get on Demon Soul Sect's bad side? They're at our door and asking for you. Elder Yuan shrugged. Zhuofan said, Third young Master Han? Him too, but someone else as well. His second brother, Second young Master Han, is here to challenge the elite area. But that should be no problem to you. Elder Yuan nodded. Zhuofan mumbled, He's after my laborers? What man would come to poke in your labor office's affairs? Though sect leader had the labor office clean up the ring. It is your duty, but if you won't go, it'll have to be one of the elites. Zhuofan rolled his eyes and cursed as he left. Xiaoyue is forcing my hand. They came for the elite area, so why the hell are you dragging the labor office into this? It's not my fault. He's the sect leader, paying attention to the sect's reputation. As the manager of the labor office, that's something you don't have to worry about. Elder Yuan chuckled. Chapter 602, Ghost Chasing Shadow. Chapter 602, Ghost Chasing Shadow. Bam! A youth got flung through the air in the great hall before hitting the ground with a crunch. Xiaoyue, and the rest watched in cold silence while the disciples felt their legs shaking. You call this an elite, demon scheming sect? They can't take one hit. The old man with black hair sat in the guest seat with a cold eye and a snicker. The youth next to him bore the same condescending look. Third brother. Are you sure he was from the demon scheming sect? Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Second brother. I heard those little shits even calling him Steward Zhua. A vicious youth in the center of the hall shouted, Where the hell is that punk? Stop hiding like a coward and fight my second brother. Venerable Sure held his nose. Elder Imo, you may be from a middle Three Sect, but that's no reason to force yourself in. I told you once, and I'll say it again. This is a sect, not a clan to have stewards. Why don't you pick from our extensive range of elders and venerables? We came here for my disciples' spar and to promote our sect's friendship. How is that possible between elders? Some will take it as an act of war instead. All the elders and venerables there turned glum, with Xiaoyue giving him a withering gaze. The Demon Soul Sect might have status over them, but they were one of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, not some thug they can intimidate. Xiaoyue barked at the trembling disciples. What are you standing around for, and get in already? You're elites, for crying out loud. Act like it. Lose, and it's your life on the line. The disciples felt like crying, oh, the humanity. What elites when the labor office stole all the good ones? We got nothing to fight demon soul sects, third young master with. With how third young master Han wiped the floor with them, there was no way, even if they took turns, they could beat second young master Han. Third young master Han sported a mocking smile. So these are the peak talents demon scheming sect has to offer. No wonder you were so lame in the last double dragon gathering. I alone might even win it the next time around. Ha ha ha. Xie Wuyue's anger reached a boiling point. Last double dragon gathering was the greatest pain for him, and now a damn punk was picking his scars. Elder Emo and second young master Han only sneered. You think you got what it takes to challenge the whole elite area? Three people in rough clothes and holding a broom walked in. Chi Changlong was in front. With Bai Lian and Lu Xie at his sides, they were the best of the elite area, yet had to do menial tasks all the same after turning to the elite labor office. That included the work attire and tools. Third young master Han turned a skeptical eye over, finding them to be nothing more than a sect's nobodies that butted in his affairs. What was odd was how the elite area's other disciples here relaxed at their coming. Senior brother Chi, you're here. Any later, and we'd be goners. Yeah, they're just too savage, always going for the kill. The elite area's disciples complained in anger and fear. Chi Changlong grew enraged, while the third young master Han was dumbstruck. The hell? Why are young masters pleading with beggars for help? What is demon scheming sect playing at? A single look at the slumped junior brother had Chi Changlong grasp the situation. The opponent was tough to even dispatch a 6th layer radiant stage expert in one blow. He turned to third young master Han and found him in the 8th layer and shouted, I've long since wanted to meet you, third young master Han, if you would. Who? Third young master Han squinted and said, 9th layer radiant stage? What is your name? Labor offices Chi Changlong. He snorted. Third young master Han turned to Elder Emo. Laborer? Since when do laborers achieve such cultivation? Demon scheming sect has no respect for talent to throw him into labor. But noticing the other two were of the same cultivation, he fell silent. Is that why the demon scheming sect always came last? Because it ruins its talents? Not that he cared. Since they came to die, he was most accommodating. Third young master Han snickered. 9th layer radiant stage. This should be fun. Not that having one layer over me will be any damn good. You'll see soon enough. Chi Changlong attacked. Third young master Han replied with a palm strike. Bam. The two palms met, and third young master Han trembled in his spot. Chi Changlong had to stagger 10 feet back. How could this be? Chi Changlong was incredulous. How am I the weaker one when I'm above him in cultivation? Third young master Han mocked. Ha ha ha, oh, I saw all right. While a layer above me, your meridians are smaller than mine, all because of treatment. Do you have any idea how many pills I had to eat? And I started small too. How about you? Did you get any even? This is the gap between our sect. And with the coming of Double Dragon Gathering, we'll only get farther ahead. There's no way a lower 3 sect will ever topple a middle 3 sect. All of the demon scheming sect trembled in rage. Third young master Han saw the hard and stubborn faces of the trio and grinned. Don't believe me? Then come at me. All of you. That should bring you down to earth. You asked for it, so don't come crying when you lose. Chi Changlong knew he was the weaker one from that exchange and agreed. Third young master Han snickered. You three aren't enough, even for a warm-up? Bastard. Chi Changlong snapped, and the trio shot for him. They exploded with power and unleashed devastating attacks that made all other elites hopeful. There's no way third young master Han can take the combined attack of all of them. Second young master Han and Elder Emo were calm as ever. Third young master Han even smirked. Fetid flood. Meteor shower. Earth shatter. Green, white, and yellow shone ever brighter, combining and bearing down on third young master Han. His reply was to shimmer black and make a sign. Quasi-Earth-ranked martial art, ghost-chasing shadow. Eerie black figures loomed around third young master Han, wailing and shrieking as they lunged for the trio's attack. The three were sent flying, yet the shadows pressed the advantage. Grabbing their heads, it was their turn to howl in pain from the agony. Third young master Han grinned in pride. He wants to crush their souls. Venerable Bai cried out in worry. Venerable Chi was the same elder. Emo saw them and chuckled in a most annoying way. Should elders and Venerable be interfering in a disciple's fight? Or does the demon-scheming sect not understand this most basic rule? Sect leader. The two venerables pleaded to Xia Wuyue with their eyes, but he was silent. He took the sect's reputation above anyone's fate. Even the disciples, the venerables, were in pain seeing their kin about to lose their souls. Their nails cut into their palms and drew blood. The more demonic the sect, the more strict the rules. Any violation would be met with swift demise. No one would save their kin now, not when both choices meant death all the same. Chapter 603, Encroachment. Chapter 603, Encroachment. Who? A strong wind blew just then, scattering the shadows from creeping any deeper into the three's souls, and it kept going, still forcing third young Master Han on the defensive boom. The crushing force pushed him dozens of meters back, leaving cracked tiles in his wake when he did stop. His feet were knee-deep in the floor. Who did that? Third young Master Han broke into a cold sweat, lowering his trembling arms to see second young Master Han and Elder Emo frowned, their gazes fixed on the thin youth coming in bearing a cold face and a broom, and by the feel of him, he was just a fresh, radiant stage disciple. Third young Master Han was in shock, turning to his brother. Second brother, that's him? You got nerve, kid, coming here again. Was last time not enough for you? Zhuo Fan spared him a single glance before tending the trio. You aren't dead yet, now scram. A laborer's only job is to sweep, not be a pain in the ass seeking the limelight. What's their challenge on the elite area got to do with us? Zhuo Fan had no restraint, but at least the trio was saved. They rubbed their aching heads and gave Zhuo Fan a nod and a look of dread to third young Master Han before leaving without complaint. They knew all too well they were just too weak. Even in a 3-on-1 exchange, Venerable Chi and by breath easier. Zhuo Fan spun on his heel and was already walking away. You think you can just come in here and leave after interfering? And who are you, an elder or venerable of the demon-scheming sect? Zhuo Fan threw over his shoulder at the youth resembling third young Master Han. Second young Master Han mocked. I am Demon Soul Sect's second young Master Han. I heard the demon-scheming sect had a presentable disciple and came to be enlightened. May I be honored to know your name? Demon-scheming sect's labor office's honcho, Zhuo Fan. But everyone calls me Steward Zhuo. Swishing the broom, Zhuo Fan scoffed. Since you're no elder of mine, I don't have time to waste on you. I got work to do. Bye. Hold it right there. Is this how you treat an honored guest? Second young Master Han shouted again at the gross lack of disrespect. Zhuo Fan's mouth worked as he walked. An honored guest needs honored elders and venerables to look after. What are you doing, going after this little old laborer for? We're here to sweep the floors, not tend to guests. It's not in our job description. Sect leader Xia, didn't you say I can challenge anyone in the sect? Second young Master Han turned to Xia Wuyue, seeing he was talking to a wall. Xia Wuyue gave a mocking nod. As long as you want to, second young Master. Oh, I will. With red eyes and a sneer, second young Master Han jumped, ready to strike with his 2 fingers. Zhuo Fan, let's see you get away now. Pseudo-Earth-ranked martial art, underworld blade. Whoosh. An eerie energy shot from those fingers for Zhuo Fan's head. The air shimmered as it passed, releasing creepy howls and sucking the warmth out of the hall. Venerable sure cried. Demon Soul Sect's patron art, the mystical soul art, underworld blade. I hear low ethereal stage experts will die all the same from a peak radiant stage cultivator using this art. It's an art focused on killing. Xia Wuyue frowned and sighed. The Han clan's 3 young masters are all true talents. A shame the second one had to meet such a monster. All the oldies snickered alongside Elder Emo, had full confidence in second young Master Han, but soon found the demon-scheming sect's higher-ups were sporting grins. You're telling me an attack to kill an ethereal stage expert isn't enough to crush a radiant stage cultivator? Not like anyone told him. Zhuo Fan just a few days back killed 2 elders like nothing. Second young Master Han could only kill early ones too, making the whole of demon-scheming sect's echelon find him sorely lacking. As the blade came for Zhuo Fan's head, he brushed with his broom behind him. Roar. The draconic roar crushed the blade like a hammer smashing a needle, and then went for second young master Han himself. The young master got flung way up high and left a trail of blood in his wake, though he gnashed his teeth to bear through the pain as his body shook all over. Second young master Elderemo started. Second young master Han signaled him back. Watching the smug sweeper with shock and fear, third young master Han got his trembling feet under him and sported the same look of dread as his brother. Is he even human? How can a fresh, radiant stage cultivator take down second brother in a single strike? Body strength aside, is his soul that freakish too? How are we supposed to compete with such perfection? The added mockery of Zhou Fan only amplified the fear. Zhou Fan snickered. Now the hall is clean. Don't make it dirty. Second young master Han was outraged, but he was choking on blood and couldn't retort. Zhou Fan sported the same condescending smile as he left with a snort. Xia Wuyue was overjoyed. Never had he been made to look so good. Elderemo, sorry, he's just too rude. That's why I left him in the labor office. I hope you can forgive the offense. Oh, so sect leader Xia is in the hobby of demoting strong disciples. Elderemo snorted. Are you going to have them join the Double Dragon gathering? What do you think? Xia Wuyue smirked. Elderemo nodded with a small bow. Then we shall disturb you no further, and we'll meet again at Double Dragon gathering. Farewell.
Farewell.
Xia Wuyue showed him the door. Elderemo flicked his sleeve and took his disciples. The oldies cracked up when they were gone. Ha! Look at them. They're in the middle three sects, yet never saw them so wretched. Don't get too happy. There's still no pushovers. Xia Wuyue sneered. They came to probe us. Zhou Fan must have messed with third young master Han, and they came to assess the threat. They just accomplished their objective. Won't that mean we're exposed? Venerable by frowned. Xia Wuyue waved his hand. Such a flimsy cover wouldn't have lasted anyway. It's best to reveal it spectacularly like today. To tell them my sect aims for a middle three sect position. Brilliant, sect leader. The elders bowed. A disciple burst in shouting. Beast taming sect's elders and disciples request an audience. Beast taming sect now? The elders looked baffled. What is with today? Sect encroachment. Xia Wuyue mocked. Just another scouting party. Last time we took 3 of their elders in Tianyu, so they want to do us in at the Double Dragon gathering. What's there to fear of another lower 3 sect like us? One elder cursed. Just 6 Zhou Fan on them and that's that. Fool. Xia Wuyue showed a nasty smile. We need to show off to the middle 3 sects so that they don't kick us around. But for the lower 3 sects, the secret weapon, Zhou Fan, is not to be divulged. They'll bite more than they can chew when he shows himself in the Double Dragon gathering. They all exclaimed and admired him. Brilliant. Chapter 604. Target, Middle 3 Sect. Chapter 604. Target, Middle 3 Sect. Bam! A figure in fine clothes and bright colors got flung out of the hall with a bang, again. Blood flowed, and the body banged up and rolled 3 times on the ground. Yes, but he was still alive. At least what faced him was a buffed man in gray robes with a snickering look sent at the rest of the disciples around. Is demon scheming sect's elite area that shorthanded to have only your waists? The disciples watched the 8th layer radiant stage thug with anger. But the sight of sect leader's cold face had them bury it deep, for crying out loud. The elite area isn't shorthanded. It's that damn labor office taking everyone good from us. First was third young master Han, and now this cocky bastard. The only reason you're still standing is because the sect leader doesn't let us get Zhou Fan. Or even Qi Changlong could waste you, you pompous prick. Regardless of their thoughts, Xia Wuyue's glare let them know not to do that. A grizzled old man looked smug. Sect leader Xia, I hear the elite area has many fine geniuses. How come I don't see them? Elder Lu is too kind. What you see here is all my sect has in terms of elites for your disciple to spar with. Are you not satisfied? Xia Wuyue faked anger. The old guy admitted. Sure you're not hiding some? My great sect has nothing to hide. Or is Elder Lu doubting my words? Xia Wuyue slammed the table. The elder's eyes darted to and fro, then nodded. Ha ha ha. With sect leader Xia's prestige, such a lie is beneath you. I of course believe you. Xiaoyue spoke with a dark face, then I shall no longer disturb you. Please forgive my presumptuous tone. Elder Lu eyed Xiaoyue one last time as he bowed and left. He said to the thug on his way, Hui Xiong, let's go. We best not overstay our welcome. Thank you, sect leader Xie, for accommodating us and the sparring. Thank you, sect leader Xie, for reading these punching bags. While useless, they did get me worked up. You've been far too kind. Hui Xiong cupped his hand with a snicker. Xiaoyue's face was ghastly, though no words slipped. Elder Lu grinned, throwing more biting remarks. Hui Xiong, that's no way to treat sect leader Xie. You can't be so blunt about it, no matter how true it is. They are going to fight in the Double Dragon Gathering and hold some flimsy hopes still. Good. Bye. Having enough theatrics for one day, Xiaoyue shouted. Elder Lu waved dismissively as he left with his grinning disciple. They just cut the corner and Xiaoyue in the hall showed a devious grin. A bunch of ignorant fools. We'll see who laughs last at the Double Dragon Gathering. The oldies joined him in rambunctious laughter. They were dying to see Zhuo Fan wiping that ridiculous grin off their faces, preferably with blood. That got them giddy, ha ha. A mile off, Demon Scheming Sect. Second young master Han spat blood again, his face blanching. Second brother, I told you we should have asked big brother, but you just wanted to show off. Now, look at what became of you. Both of us suffered from the same prick. Third young master Han lamented his brother's fate. Second young master Han glared. Quit it. How was I supposed to know that a nobody lower 3 sect would have such a sicko? Based on his strength, no one in the Radiant stage can take him on. Our only hope against him lies with the eldest young master in the ethereal stage. Elder Mo's eyes flashed. At least we made some use of this time. Probing Demon Scheming Sect. It's definitely aiming for middle 3 sect status. We have to keep our own position at all costs, come what may. The Han brothers nodded. 2 figures walked over. Master. Now we can rest easy. The Demon Scheming Sect has nothing but punching bags. I'll run through them in the Double Dragon Gathering to pay them back for the humiliation in Tianyu. I'll make them stay in the lower 3 sects forever. Ha ha ha. What brash talk. We, Demon Soul Sect, are stressed out from that freak and you want to run him through? What are you, a superior 3 sect? The Han brothers turned glum and Elder Mo flashed before the 2 figures peeked. Who's there? Elder Lu and Hui Xiong jerked back, startled at the figure's eerie vibe. A demonic cultivator? I come from Demon Soul Sect. Elder Mo nodded. Who are you? And did you come from the Demon Scheming Sect? Elder Lu rushed to reply. I am but an elder in the Beast Taming Sect. Here is Hui Xiong. As you said, we come from the Demon Scheming Sect. Why did you go there? Elder, I took my disciple to spar. Spar? Elder Mo sized Hui Xiong up and found him only in the 8th layer Radiant stage. Period. Nothing else special. Did it go that easy? Master and disciple shared a most egotistical grin if the elder ever saw one. Hui Xiong even puffed up his chest in absolute pride. Demon Scheming Sect is nothing. In less than 10 moves, I wiped the floor with them. The Demon Scheming Sect is not worth the trouble in the Double Dragon Gathering. Our real opponent is Mystical Heaven Sect. Everyone? In 10 moves? You? Second young master Han glared. I ended up sucking pavement from one hit, and you think you can take that guy on? Third young master Han was puzzled. Is this guy an even freakier monster? And asked, which disciples did you defeat? The strongest, the elites. Hui Xiong stuck out his chest harder. If possible, the Han brothers found one profound truth in his words. Did you meet any laborer? Laborer? Whatever for? What do the lowest of the low have to match my greatness? Hui Xiong snorted. The trio shared a knowing smile. They're the fools, all right. What's wrong? Elder Lu bowed. Elder Mo deflected. Nothing at all. Just thinking how such a genius from the Beast Taming Sect dealt with all elites from the Demon Scheming Sect. You truly are worthy of becoming the best among the lower 3 sects in the Double Dragon Gathering. Naturally, among the lower 3 sects, we are the best. Hui Xiong hit his chest, feeling more pride swelling in his bloated head. Elder Mo sighed, laughed harder. Hui Xiong took it as if they were laughing with him, while Elder Lu found it off. Why does it sound condescending? Elder Mo gave a wave and they left, leaving the other elders stumped with his disciple third young master Han mocked. Those two are the biggest idiots I've ever seen. The demon scheming sect left nothing out. They will suffer the most in the double dragon gathering. Xie Wuyue played them like a fiddle. No one will ever expect the strongest disciple of the demon scheming sect to be coming from their lowest rung. The only reason we didn't fall for it as well is because of forcing them to call Zhuofan over. The more reserved Xie Wuyue is, the more it shows his great ambition for the double dragon gathering. Elder Emo scratched his beard and thought the Han brothers nodded. The demon scheming sect's aim was clear, the middle three sect position. And the one to fall would be the lowest in the middle three sects.